BBC World.
A new 6-part series delves into the origins of rugby.
How rugby's present was born from a remarkable past. How the game that started life as a hobby for English elites
Rugby was the game of the ruling classes.
became an expression of colonisation, an emblem of national identity, a symbol of oppression, and one of unity.
The Story of Rugby, Thursday at 10:45 on RTE1.
Party people in this here spot.
New Rockshore, a light and refreshing tasting Irish lager.
Home hunters. At AIB, we back your belief with a fair mortgage. Which is why we're lowering not just one, but all of our fixed rates. So whether it's 1 year or 10, you'll know you're fixing with some of the most competitive rates on the market from AIB. Because that's what a fair mortgage should be. Belief turns houses into homes. Talk to us about a mortgage today.
Lads, can we stick on the game? I want to see the tongue and haka.
Hang on, let's just finish this level. Low, keep low. Watch out. Lads, who's the Emernator?
Oh, lucky lads.
Sign up to Air and get totally unlimited fibre broadband and get the Air Sport Pack free. The only place to watch all 48 games of the Rugby World Cup live. All for just $39.99 a month on a 12-month contract.
So, tongue and hacker?
Air. Let's make possible.
Want an easy way to save on your home energy? Get 14% off gas and 21% off electricity when you switch. And right now, receive our Hive Active Heating for free. A smart thermostat helping you manage your energy. Switch today at bordgoshenergy.ie.
Seven Up Free. Great 7-Up taste, free of sugar. Feels good to be free.
Gear up for the hurling final with a brand new episode of The Game.
You just can't describe it. Just the joy. It's indescribable,
Winning is hand the Lee McCarthy Cup in the car beside you, going into your primary school where you grew up.
A brand new episode of The Game, Tuesday at 9:35 on RTE1.
Tomorrow on the Sunday Game Live, Kerry face Tyrone in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship semi-final in Croke Park. Joanne Cantwell heads up our coverage from 2:30. Now though, time to find out who the winner of that game will be facing. It's now Mayo v Dublin on the Saturday Game Live.
They travel from all four corners. A journey of thousands who become one.
Over the past 4 weeks, the All-Ireland Football Championship has been dominated by the number 8. But as our focus switches more towards who might be standing on these famous steps come the 1st of September, a different number could be about to take centre stage. So buckle up, because over the next few weeks, or if the men from the West have something to say about it, just over the next few hours, there's going to be a whole lot of talk about the drive for 5.
5 to 1, baby, 1 in 5. No one here gets out alive now. You get yours, baby, I'll get mine. Gonna make it, baby.
Sam Maguire will be spending the winter in the capital. Jim Gavin's team see off the challenge of Kerry.
The old get old and the young get strong.
Party time in the capital.
May take a week and it may take longer. They got the guns, but we got the numbers. Gonna win, yeah, we're taking over.
Once again, defeat is Mayo's lot. And Dublin have surely won the All-Ireland. Dublin are again the champions.
One of the greatest teams in GA history.
Winners of 4 in a row. What an achievement.
It is the first All-Ireland football semi-final of 2019, and what a way to start. Dublin versus Mayo throws in at 5 o'clock. And it's fair to say that there's been a bit of excitement around the place, both among that sellout crowd who've been buzzing about Jones's Road for a couple of hours now. Hopefully those long queues for tickets will be well worth it. No doubt they will be. Also quite a bit of excitement here in studio, where I'm joined by Tomas, Joe and Colm. And Jim Gavin's done quite a good job, hasn't he, recently, of managing to keep that word 5 down a bit, but there's no escaping it now. Is this when the pressure really ramps up?
Well, yeah, I was just thinking during the week they'll have the bloody thing won, and we'll start talking about 5 in a row. Look, it is. I suppose there's been other talking points. There's been Super 8s. There's been, I suppose, Donegal. There's been Mayo. You know, there's Diarmuid Connolly coming back. There's all sorts of. I'm not saying it's on purpose or by deflection. I think it's suited.
But it might be.
Well, I don't think so. I think, look, there's certain things they can control and they do that, but other things they can't control. They do control that they don't talk about the 5 in a row. They play it match by match, and they're dead right. I think, you know, they have an ability to stay away from social media, from newspapers, all that crack, I'd say. Everything is controlled. We've heard stories about Jim Gavin and the lads. I suppose the big question for me is, are the Dubs vulnerable today, the fact that they haven't been tested? They're going for 5 in a row. They haven't absolutely have any tests in my mind in the championship. The only team that were possibly going to test them was Tyrone, which was a bit of a farce last week. So,
but yet lesser teams can test all the other top teams. I mean, Mayo could have been out of the championship, you know, down Armagh. You know, this doesn't happen with Dublin. And you know, I was going to say, you know, you were talking about whether, you know, the 5 in a row in the big game tonight. I understand the Dubs are calling it Game 8 or Game 9. That's I understand that's the protocol, and you see that, and particularly I think there's footage we're going to see later of when they turned it around in the last 8, 9, 10 minutes of the 2017 final, when Mayo had gone 2-up, and the camera goes straight to Jim just as the final whistle blows, and I mean, he calmly stands up as though he were going play a round of golf first thing, you know, on a spring morning. And that composure is at the essence of the Dubs, and the big issue for Mayo, because as Tomas said earlier, if they were going to beat them, they would have beaten them before now. The big issue is, how do you rock that composure? Because the last time it was rocked, it was a clinical Jim McGuinness ambush in 2014 at a time whenever Dublin still didn't know how to react against that sort of system.
But they have shown this great composure. But is this different? Because no team has ever done it, and they may be calling it Game 8, but they still have to have in the back of their heads, we are going for immortality here.
Yeah, but they seem to be immune from any type of pressure. They just go out and play the same type of game all the time. I think they're a highly intelligent group of players, which is a good start. And I suppose we could argue that the last big game Dublin had, and the last really competitive game, was 2017 in the All-Ireland final against Mayo. Since that, like, they skated through last year. They haven't played a game this year. And So their main games are between each other in training games. It reminds me of what Bill Shankly, when he was asked about who was the second best team in England at one time, and he said Liverpool reserves. And maybe it's a bit like that with Dublin, because again, they put out a team last Sunday in a farce of a game in Oma, and yet it was a very, very strong team on paper. And the main competition for in that game last Sunday wasn't to get on the Dublin team, was to get on the subs bench for today. That just shows their strength.
And yet I've heard a few people say, Tomas, that actually what that game last week showed is that perhaps their backup isn't as good as it has been previously.
I'm not sure. You look at that, the backup that they have, and it's loaded. I think probably years ago they were coming in, they were tapping on 5 or 6 scores. Kevin McManaman, for example, isn't the player I think he was. He doesn't have the same impact. But I do think they've changed their style. They're kicking ball this year, Joanne, that they weren't kicking before. I think that the thing that really marks out this Dublin team is they haven't been tested at all this year. And it's their ability on a day when there's going to be a ratcheting up of intensity against Mayo, and you'll see Dublin showing up with that intensity, matching it. And I think that is the real kind of sign of a great team, when they can actually turn up. And it's a bit of I suppose a reflection on Leinster, that it's the semi-final we're seeing them under pressure for the first time, even if they will be.
The average winning margin for Dublin so far in the championship has been 15.1 points, so that'll show how much they've won by so far this year. Now, as for Dublin and Mayo, they've met in championship football 7 times since 2012, 4 times in All-Ireland finals and 3 in All-Ireland semis. That includes replays. James Horan did guide Mayo to victory in the first of those meetings 7 years ago, but since then there have been 2 draws and 4 wins for the Dubs. He'd say it's been emotional times for the Mayo players and their supporters.
I remember reading once about a government, I think it was the French, that asked its citizens to write love letters to soldiers at the front who didn't have a sweetheart of their own. Reminds me a bit of Mayo. Poor boys barely past childhood, about to be fed into the mechanical mincer of the industrial age battlefield, and all that could be done was send them a lavender-scented page to take their minds off the lead and gunpowder. Think of the glory, lads. Think of the romance. Well, that clumsy if well-meaning propaganda won't wash anymore with the green and red. Today is the last chance. But what joy is any chance that appeared to be gone forever? From nowhere, they can wipe out pain and history and conquer the holy ground. Since 2013, the letters, pleas and prayers have all chundered down the vortex of bad fortune, bad decisions, and ultimately better opposition. Also, like the poor fellas who had to lie that they were older to make the army ranks, some of the Mayo lads would now be forgiven for trying to add a few years to their age to try and get themselves ruled out of conscription into this army of pain and punishment. The likes of Andy Moran, all those years dodging bullets, and not even the one Celtic cross to bring on R&R with him. Mind you, Andy, and to this old man he deserves mention more than most, has let off a fair few volleys himself.
Right time, right man!
This man has had to spiritually cleanse himself after 6 All-Ireland final defeats, 3 of them by a point. Surely, no, not surely, but maybe that counts for something. Could count for something today. You know the tragic tale yourselves, let's not dwell on it. Mayo are at the mercy of a ruthless celestial remote control that siren calls them onto the rocks of an All-Ireland failure every year. As children, we just couldn't imagine anything more sportingly terminal than carrying that with you for the rest of your life. But as adults, we now know living brings deeper ravines than a missing medal, and the peaks should be cherished like a love letter from life itself. Especially when those peaks, like today, were thought to be in the past.
Well, we're going to have to see how this plays out.
In May, Dublin set out to methodically and skillfully navigate the last remaining peak of immortality. Mayo were careering down the other direction with all the balance of an inner ear infection.
It's all over. The Super H has ended in Mayo's favour amid great drama.
But today, they meet not at the slaty, blood-stained Croagh-Patrick foothills, but on the smoothly level back garden of the boys in blue. One of the greatest about to become the greatest? Or one of the most tragic about to erect a new monument? What a game of Gaelic football.
They say this could be a classic. It's written all over it.
What a game indeed. And there's already been more heartache for Mayo because their minors have lost the All-Ireland semi-final. It's just over there in Cork, have beaten them 4-12 to 113. Is there a chance that we will get another cracker between Dublin and Mayo? Are there two teams at this place where we might see it?
I think we should get a very good game. I suppose what has identified great rivalries over the years, whether it's Dublin Kerry, Meath and Cork, Tyrone Armagh, Galway Mayo, is that there's always one team wins occasionally to keep the rivalry going. And it's different, even though people talk about the great Mayo-Dublin rivalry. It's been all one-sided. Dublin have won them all. Mayo have got close. So it would be great, and a sort of a spiritual renaissance would take place in Mayo if they could win this one. But all form in all games still points to Dublin. And you know, we've had these fantastic efforts in defeat by Mayo, and if they were around at any other era, they probably would have won one or two All-Ireland finals. But again, you know, cold logic would dictate that Dublin carry most of the trump cards.
But I'm not sure that that's right, Colin, because I think that, you know, a Mayo friend of mine was saying, you know, if we beat Dublin tonight, we'll lose the final, because there is a streak there, because they had Donegal, don't forget, in 2012. They had two chances against Kerry in 2014. You know, against the Kerry team, they were coming from a very low base, and in fact, Kerry used Mayo as a morale booster that year. And whenever you're playing this Dublin team, you must take every chance. I mean, I was looking at the 2017 final, and when you watch this Dublin team playing, it's complete focus and concentration at all times. A great example happened under us here during the Super 8s. Cork were winning 5-2 against Dublin, and they were playing very lively football. They'd missed a goal chance, and Jack McCaffrey took off, went in a solo run, surrounded, put the ball in the net. Excellent goal. As the ball rolled into the back of the net, he turned and shouted at Philly McMahon, "Pick up my man." It's that minute-by-minute concentration where there's no celebrations. You know, Pat Gilroy put a stop to all of that. And that's the problem when you play against them. It's minute-by-minute concentration. And whatever you do, normally a team gets a wee rush of momentum from a good score or from a goal. We saw it with Mayo here, with Lee Keegan, with Andy Moore in the previous year in the All-Ireland final. The rush of momentum, but the rush of momentum isn't enough, because the ball's set down and they come straight back at you again. So it's going to take an effort that Mayo have somewhere where Mayo have never been before, because we look at last week's games and we say, okay, Mayo's efficiency rate was 38% against Donegal, so they took 28 shots to score 11 times. Dublin's efficiency rate is over 85% throughout the championship, and we've never seen that before in Gaelic games. So that idea that Tomas was talking about is the way they control the ball now. The efficiency, the fact that they keep the ball off you for so long.
And,
so, I mean, it's a huge task for Mayo.
And yet for all that, yet for Joe saying Mayo have to hit where they haven't been before, they've taken them to All-Ireland final replays, All-Ireland semi-final replays,
yeah.
despite the fact that people say that Dublin are a far greater team. They seem to still have the belief.
They have to have the belief, John. You don't have any other option on them to have the belief. Every time they come back, they dust themselves down, they come back every year, and it's the same attitude, the same players. It's a core group of players that are still there involved in all these epic matches. They've never crossed the line. People that say, oh, they don't have the courage or they don't have the wherewithal. I think they have everything. I think if there's anything thrown at this Mayo team, it's possibly, in my opinion, like Joe says, it's that forward line that hasn't kicked them over the line. It's that fella that can get 5 or 6 from play, or a guy that will pop up and get 3 or 4. They're all saying at the moment that Kerry have a forward line that can damage anybody. I tell you now, Kerry would love to have 1 to 9 or 1 to 10 that Mayo have, because they're phenomenal. Like you saw, like they went to Down, Armagh, Galway, Donegal. Like what they have brought, the Super 8s wouldn't be where it was this year, only for Mayo. Full houses everywhere they play. Of course, we were writing them off all year, the last couple of years, and they're still there. Like I'd argue actually that this Mayo team are possibly better than a few teams that have won All-Ireland in the last 20 years. You know, it's just that they've come across a Dublin team that are
a Kerry team, a Donegal team. You know, I don't think it just stops here, Tomas.
OK, we've much more to come on this. We'll be back shortly for our build-up and, of course, match coverage of Dublin against Mayo, with the Connacht County looking for their first championship win over their rivals in 7 years.
Amazing noise around Croke Park. Huge support for Dublin, but massive support too for the men of Mayo. Michael Conroy and Mayo lead for the first time in this All-Ireland semi-final. Flynn! Come off the crossbar! They are absolutely flying. Can he get his eye in here on Kilkenny? Yes, he can. It's a glorious point from Jason Doherty. Mayo back flying again. The All-Ireland champions are in real trouble. Killian O'Connor. Surely it's got to be Mayo's day. 16 points to 7. The game isn't over, and it's certainly not over now. There is still time. 4 points back. Oh, and Brogue again! What a save from David Clark! And Mayo have beaten the All-Ireland champions Dublin.
Super Value. Where you're from is everything.
RTE Sport is live from the RDS Dublin.
Absolutely fantastic.
For the nation's favourite horse show.
Oh, he's very quick.
The 2019 Stena Line Dublin Horse Show. Today at 7 on RTE2.
Ireland. But what's in a name? Scratch beneath the surface and you'll find not only the secrets of the landscape, but also the secrets of the people who walked this land before us and who named it.
Creedon's Atlas of Ireland, Sunday at 6:30 on RTE1.
Oh, just kidding. I do come from a long line of scary ghosts, but I chose to be a nice ghost instead. Makes for a more interesting life. Well, afterlife. Oh, that'll be mine.
It's for women.ie. Great value car insurance for those on the go. On the web, on demand, on the go. It's time to own it.
Since 1879, Knock Shrine has welcomed visitors and pilgrims. And in this special anniversary year, we welcome you. Join us for Knock National Novena. A time to explore, to reflect and to share. A time for family, for friends, and for you. The National Novena at Knock from August 14th to 22nd. Visit knockshrine.ie for details.
Teach you all you need to know about yourself. The Electric Ireland GAA Minor Championships. This is major.
It takes a nation to make a national sport. Hurling is what we are.
We are supporters.
We are the future.
We are players.
We are kitmen.
We are stewards.
We are Centra.
We are hurling.
Stop this. You can't give people this much choice.
Quiet, please, ladies and gentlemen. Quiet, please.
Voltarol has a triple effect. It targets the pain, has a powerful anti-inflammatory ingredient, and helps speed up recovery. Voltarol, the joy of movement.
The GAA is giving its backing to women in sport by supporting the 20 by 20 movement. People have been asked to show their stripes to help the campaign in its bid to increase female participation in sport and also increase coverage as well. Of course, RT Sport has live coverage of next Saturday's Camogie semi-finals as well as the All-Ireland Camogie final, which takes place on the 8th of September. Now, look at this, significant here at Croke Park. Look who is leading out the Mayo footballers ahead of their All-Ireland semi-final against Dublin. Let's get all those details of the starting teams for Mayo against Dublin with our match commentator, Darren Maloney.
Yes, Joanne, thank you very much indeed. Well, we've some changes on both teams. We'll tell you about those in due course. But Kevin McStay alongside me. And Kevin, look, we're watching the two teams out there warming up. We just in many ways want the referee to throw the ball in now, get this started. There's a great buzz around the place.
Yeah, fantastic. The hype has finally reached Croke Park. And of course, it's because Dublin are 2 games out from this famous 5 in a row. And because this is the first game Dublin have played this season where it's absolute knockout, no safety net, winner takes all here tonight, and they're facing off against, I won't call them their nemesis because they haven't beaten them yet, but the one team, Mayo, that we know can really bring it to Dublin full on, full tilt, and the hope is that we get a competitive game right up to the final quarter.
Yeah, you're going to hear, and you are hearing, a huge roar as Dublin come out onto the field. Mayo out a couple of minutes. Now, there have been changes, but just one on the Dublin team. The team was leaked last night. Stephen Cluxton, you can see, beaten just once in this championship. It was from a penalty against Cork in their first Super 8 match. A group of 10 players pretty much ever present in this run to the last 4. Mick Fitzsimons and Jack McCaffrey return. The change sees Cian O'Sullivan drop out and Johnny Cooper, as you saw, back into the team. Brian Fenton, one of the constants, but his partner at midfield today, Michael Dara McCauley, he's been in superb form. Those two make a very powerful duo. The scoring power very definitely there. The positioning of Kieran Kilkenny will be interesting. I know he's wearing 15, but will he start in the inside line? Brian Howard playing against Mayo in the championship for the first time. Dean Rock back in the team and back on free-taking duty, having not played any minutes last week. There are 3 late changes to the Mayo team. First of all, we should address the loss of Jason Doherty. It is a big loss for Mayo. They've had to contend with injuries to big players all year. The back 7, as we expected. Rob Hennelly, thinking back to the league game back in February, he was in brilliant form. I know Mayo lost, but he made 5 or 6 absolutely outstanding saves. Let's get into the forward division, and these are where the changes come. Kevin McLaughlin's come out of the team, Darren Cohen has come out of the team, and Fergal Boland also out. We've got a start for Matthew Ruane and Diarmuid O'Connor. Both of them were injured around about the same time. They missed 4 or 5 games each for Mayo. Donal Vaughan also starts. Diarmuid O'Connor in there at full forward. Darren Cohen, McLaughlin, Boland out. Vaughan, O'Connor and Ruane start. And when you look at the 2 benches, well, I think in many ways there was more interest in the names on the Dublin bench than the team itself. But the name of Diarmuid Connolly does kind of jump out at you, as does the absence of Bernard Brogan. Mayo a much stronger bench than 2017. Andy Moran kept in reserve. Tom Parsons also there. Joanne, back to you.
OK, we expected changes, but not necessarily exactly in that way. The significant ones, first of all, from Mayo's point of view, how important that Diarmuid O'Connor is back, but also that both he and Matthew Ruane start.
Yeah, if you look at it, Joanne, Donny Vaughan's named at centre forward, Diarmuid O'Connor's played at full forward, Matthew Ruane has played at wing forward. I think it straight away tells you that Mayo are probably approaching this game in a kind of more defensive manner. If you look at the bench, they have Andy Moran, they have Kevin McLaughlin, they have Darren Cohen, 3 more scoring forwards than those 3 that are after bringing in. So I suppose James Horn is looking at maybe steadying up and holding Dublin as far as he can, and then he has a way stronger...
Are they not their top players?
I'm not so sure about that at all. I think that the reason that he's brought them in is so that Rob Hennelly can kick long. So now he's got in the engine room he's got 5 excellent high fielders.
Well, will these players not be starting?
Mayo, I tell you what, James Horan has never been inclined in his whole reign, and it's not the Mayo way, to drop back into some sort of a blanket defence. And I don't think they're going to do that. I think that these boys have been selected so that Hennelly can kick the ball long. They don't want him to be kicking it short. He had an awful meltdown in 2016.
Donny Vaughan is not going to play centre forward, so it's a more defensive team. It does look as if they're going to have 7 backs there. Matthew Ruane, of course, caused plenty of trouble to teams in the league. He scored an important goal against Kerry in the league final and also the game in Tralee. He's a very, very good player. So I think it looks as if Mayo are going to set up with Donny Vaughan at the back, and of course they have Colin Boyle will probably be the loose man at the back. But for me, it appears as if this team is a better team than the one on paper. I think Diarmuid O'Connor is a boost to them. I don't, of course, why would a broken wrist keep anybody out of the game? But it's good to see him back anyway. So
I don't think they'll play.
Certainly
I
not.
don't think they're going to play defensively. But you look at those players; they love going man on man up around the middle.
Absolutely,
And the physicality they have. Aidan O'Shea, Seamie Shea, Donny Vaughan, Ruan, Phil McDonough, Diarmuid O'Connor. They're brilliant, excellent tacklers. That's what they're excellent at.
They will not want short kickouts because Rob Henley, his temperament is already suspect. You know, he's been pressurised before. They only won just over 35% of their own kickouts against Donegal. So he had problems getting the ball away. We know how badly they struggled, appreciate with David Clark and goals on their kickouts against Kerry. So they need to get past this Dublin zonal press, and I think that size is a good idea.
Everybody now blames the goalkeeper when a team loses a kick-out. Everybody now is honing in on the stats of kick-outs. There is absolutely nothing wrong with Rob Henley kicking out to the point you're exactly making to those big men and saying to them, your job now, lads, is to go and win the ball. Don't make excuses.
Breaks, whatever it is.
Yes. Okay. Well, if you bring that sort of manic energy to winning breaks, that's not covered by stats. That's the sort of thing that Kilkenny bring to hurling, or Tipperary brought to the last 10 minutes of the semi.
And if Dublin press, then if they go long, win a break or win a clean catch, the Dubs are one-on-one inside with the Mayo forwards, and they will get space. But sometimes I think Mayo tend to go short too often, and I don't think with the physicality they have.
In fairness, David Clark likes to go short, but Henley will kick long.
It's all about possession, though.
Okay, I would say that the message has gone out in that change.
Let's move it on. Let's move it on a little bit, because when people see Matthew Ruan is playing, they'll be wondering, is he going to pick up Brian Fenton? And there's all this talk of matchups. Lots in every paper they talked about it, but one man not mentioned from a Dublin perspective was Brian Howard.
Yes, well, Brian Howard to me has been probably one of their top 2 or 3 players, and of course, the Stephen Truxton kick-out, we're talking about kick-outs, he's become one of the main focus, and he makes those sort of runs. Incredibly mobile. Here against Cork, gets a few kick-outs. But his biggest asset is the way that he has this ability to turn defence into attack, and this sort of quick sidestep. And now you see every one of the Dublin players are running towards the Cork goal, opening the whole thing out, and Brian Fenton kicks an easy point. And in a lot of the modern game where you have defensive screens, his ability to break that first tackle there and move the ball on quickly forces defenders to turn around, which they don't want to do, and to be running back towards their own goal. And here in the Leinster final against Meath, up for an easy point. But he has brilliant footwork, brilliant hands, great kicker of the ball. He can basically do everything. And again, we haven't spoken about him as one of the main players, really. We talk about Fenton, Kilkenny, Conor Callaghan,
that man there,
but Jack McCaffrey. But I think Howard now, in the last year, has developed into one of the main Dublin players.
And Colin talks about his role in opening up the defences. How different have we seen? It's like we've seen a couple of different Mayo defences this summer.
Yeah, well, this was against Kerry, and they were very, very poor. We see Aidan O'Shea and Colin Boyne playing a sweeper role. We see Sean Shea taking on Cohen in a lot of space. Kerry could do what they wanted in and around the middle. Bodies around, nobody making actual contact. Paul Ganey with an easy score. Now, that was after a tough match against Galway the week before. Here again, we see it, Kerry building from deep. We have Dave Moore, no pressure at all up along the field. But watch Paul Ganey out the wing here, and absolutely nobody on one of Kerry's main forwards. We have Aidan O'Shea slowly coming in here. We have David Clifford getting the ball. Now, Colin Boyle is behind him. Colin Boyle should either be engaging or dropping back. But to the left, Donny Vaughan has a chance to jump on him. He doesn't. He turns to his left, and Clifford gets a chance to put a ball into Ganey, and it could have been a goal chance. The point I'm making, Joanne, is they were not hunting in packs. They were not man-on-man. They were not engaging and putting hands on. This is against Donegal last week. And here we see, straight away, you can see bodies around the place, and coming through the middle was not an option for Donegal. They eventually come out the side here, and Brennan gets on the ball. Now, this is the kind of selfless defending that Mayo have. You would see inside the full forward line. Aidan O'Shea is inside. You have Chris Barrett to the left. Watch the way Aidan O'Shea comes straight out. Doesn't even say it, but watch as he comes straight out. Barrett goes in and takes his man. Now, Donegal get a score out of this, right? They get a point. But my point is, Mayo automatically do it. Here, we see it here again. He's surrounded at the back. Boyle goes in behind in case it goes in. Straight away, they engage. They get pressure on. Mayo are outstanding. I don't know, is it something to do? They played Galway before, they played Kerry a week before it. A tough physical match. They were flat the following week. They're after playing a right tough physical match 6-7 days ago against Donegal. Will they be flat again today? I don't think they'll have any hope unless they bring that madness and the work rate that they're famous for. And I do think it's their defence that are so admirable. They have 5 or 6 defenders. It's aggression that they bring in.
And they're due a couple of own goals from the Dubs. Surely, like if there's a God in heaven at all, a couple of own goals for the Dublin score.
Well, you mentioned the Dublin composure earlier and why it is that they managed to win these big games.
This is the problem to rattle. Many times Mayo have gone ahead and we've thought, okay, here we go, the hair standing in the back of our neck. So this is the 2017 final, the nearest sort of comparator. And that day Mayo played brilliantly for 65 minutes. But here they go 2 points ahead, and from the kick out, Mayo don't touch the ball again until the ball's over the bar. You can see the composure completely relaxed, completely clear-headed. The stadium was going insane. Right after a sequence of 20 passes, Mannion puts the ball over the bar. Now they're a point behind. This is directly from that kick-out. The greater urgency of the Dubs, the flick down, and again their movement. They know this is the championship time. This is like Michael Jordan coming to take the three-pointer, you know, whenever there's 3 seconds on the buzzer. Now it's a draw. Keeper gets this kick-out off. Mayo attack, but watch the tackling. Watch how focused it is again. No foul until they turn it over, and now the counter-attack. And from the counter-attack, that direct counter-attack, perfect pass. And now, in the space of 3 minutes, Mayo have gone from 2 up, a potential All-Ireland winning lead, to 1 behind. They managed 1 further point. There's Dean Rock kicking the winner. Now, there's still 2 minutes left at this point when they take that sideline. They held the ball for 30 passes for almost 2 minutes, and they're back on the attack whenever the whistle's blown. And you can see Jim's reaction. Jim looks as though he's just stepped out of a sauna, you know, he's in the middle of a week holiday in Spain. Yeah. He's having a sauna, he's toweling himself off, he's thinking about what's for tea. And this composure, people always say the man must have mystical depths. There must be all sorts of complications in that Dublin camp. To the best of my knowledge, I know Jim quite well. That's exactly what he's like. And this spirit of calm that imbues the group, it is actually, I know that people say it's boring, but you know, we can see the net effect of that. They don't appear to succumb to pressure.
Okay, after all that sort of imagery, I think it's time for us all to take a little bit of a break. We do know at this stage that Croke Park is a complete sellout for this one. Sport is waiting hours online and in shops to claim their precious tickets. Throw in not far away.
They travel from all 4 corners. A journey of thousands who become one.
A new 6-part series delves into the origins of rugby.
How rugby's present was born from a remarkable past. How the game that started life as a hobby for English elites.
Rugby was the game of the ruling classes.
Became an expression of colonisation, an emblem of national identity, a symbol of oppression, and one of unity.
The Story of Rugby, Thursday at 10:45 on RTE1.
Party people in this here spot.
New Rockshore, a light and refreshing tasting Irish lager.
With Sky, you can now enjoy more live football in the one place, including the English Football League.
It's a day of joy.
Serie A.
Ronaldo has his goal.
Scottish Premiership.
And they finish with a flourish.
UEFA Champions League.
They tore Barcelona nothing.
And every single live Premier League game.
Oh!
Football made simpler. Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports, all in the one place.
Skechers. Skechers.
It's the 60th country I've seen them in on this tour, jackpot.
The Lotto jackpot is €9.5 million. Time to play.
So I left school at 15. Everybody, all my friends would be talking about, oh, I got this result and I got this score. And I remember I was in the pub and I'd just make an excuse. I have to go to the loo or something just to get out of there because I was so embarrassed to tell people that I never actually finished school. Once I got the degree, I didn't care who knew anymore. It's given me my dream job, working in social care. Perfect, Natasha. I was like, I get paid to do this. This is wild, you know.
The Open University. What's stopping you?
You're my sidekick. Ain't nobody's sidekick. You're such a diva.
Education of our children must be a priority. Every year, 17,000 children who finish primary school receive no further education. That is a dark stain on the national conscience. Therefore, next year, full, free secondary education will be available to the children of all families in Ireland.
Is it true you are... Over 50 years ago, Donnacha O'Malley had the courage to choose hope over fear. And so has every school child since. Allianz, we cover courage.
The new Boyle Sports app is so fast.
What will surely be the last kick of the game.
It's like playing with time.
It's over the bar, and that's going to do it.
So why not check out the latest GAA betting on the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Boyle Sports. Time to play. Seven Up Free. Great 7-Up taste, free of sugar. Feels good to be free.
Super Value. Where you're from is everything.
Well, we were talking about that 20 by 20 campaign a little while ago. All these women, 35 of them, are footballers with white-hill column kills out showing their stripes today. Out on the pitch with them, of course, the footballers, the male footballers of Mayo. There's Seamie O'Shea, Chris Barrett, Stephen Cohen, and of course Dublin as well. Lots of very important and key players for Mayo we're seeing in that shot as well. All getting ready for Uachtaráin the Heron. Michael D. Higgins is about to come out and greet both sets of players. Everybody's wondering. We're seeing Lee Keegan there in the centre of the picture there a moment ago. Everybody's wondering, whom will he be tasked with picking up?
Well, Lee Keegan will, I'm sure, take Kieran Kilkenny. He has done so in the past. He took Diarmuid Connolly before. I'd say they'll push Paddy Durkin up on Jack McCaffrey to try and blunt his speed. And we were talking about here with Joe, if you could put Donny Vaughan, and he was able to put Brian Fenton out of the game, and then that would be a good matchup for a Mayo point of view.
I think it's very likely that Donny Vaughan's a brilliant athlete, and he finds himself in brilliant positions. His work rate's fantastic. I know he was heavily criticised for his terrible lack of his moment of indiscipline in the final of 2017, but him picking up Brian Fenton is the perfect solution for them, and just to track him the way that Jack Parry has done for Kerry, sacrifice himself for the team, and then Ruan can play.
Okay, here is the Uachtaráin, as we mentioned, alongside Uachtaráin coming Luke Closcail, John Horan. O'Shea, does Donny Vaughan have the concentration to pick up who many people would suggest is Dublin's most influential player in Brian Fenton?
I think it'll be very interesting who picks up Brian Fenton. There was a lot of talk that Lee Keegan might actually go to midfield. I think Mayo are lucky in the fact that they have two of the best players I've ever seen play in the game, Durkin and Keegan, who can actually squash a player. And I'm not talking about any other players, like they're taking out the likes of Connolly at his best, even McHugh last year. But their ability not only to take them out, but actually to tag on scores. Durkin kicked 3 points off McHugh last week after marking him to the bone. They have that ability now. Who will Lee Keegan pick up today? The lads are saying Kilkenny, possibly. I wonder.
Do you think it depends on where Kilkenny plays, Tomas?
I think it's very hard to actually man-mark Brian Fenton for a full 75 minutes. I think Vaughan would be a kind of a guy who could do that job. Like Donny Vaughan for a player, like a lot of people start throwing down on top of him. he's always picked. He's always playing out of it, and we just said how strong their squad is. He gets himself into great positions, and you say, oh my God, if it was only another player in the same position, what he could do like. But he always gets himself into that position. It'll be interesting.
When all of that is done, you still are left with Mannion, O'Callaghan, Dean Rock.
Yeah, there's 5 or 6 players.
Has been fantastic this year.
McCaffrey, do you mind Mark
Let's
McCaffrey?
try and concentrate on the positives for Mayo.
Well, are these not positives? We're wondering how they are trying to approach this.
Lee Keegan, you don't change a winning formula. He got into Kieran Kilkenny's skull 2 years ago, and a player who's been Player of the Year, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Keegan climbed into his skull, and that's a lasting memory. Keegan destroyed him in the 2017 final, negated him entirely, so I would imagine that he'd pick him up today. The only fear from their point of view would be if Kilkenny plays in the full forward line, but he doesn't. He roves and he plays throughout the field. That's perfect from the point of view of Keegan. I would put Donny Vaughan on Fenton, because there's no point in putting any of the more constructive players on him, and it's a job that Vaughan can perform.
Colm O'Rourke, has Con O'Callaghan been the most important attacker for Dublin this year?
Well, he obviously has spent a whole winter in the gym, and he's built like a tank now, and some of the scores he got against Roscommon, and I remember one overhead catch where he landed very awkwardly, and you think his legs were going to buckle, and he just got up, shook himself off and bust through a tackle, and he is able to do that. And remember at the start of the All-Ireland final 2 years ago, wasn't it him that stuck the ball in the net early? And that's been a consistent pattern with Mayo against Dublin too. They've given away goals, silly goals, freak goals, all types of bizarre type of situations. It would be better if it happened the other way around. If we could get Mayo scoring 2 or 3 freak goals in the first 10 minutes,
it's a huge day
would
for
test Dublin then.
Fionn McDonagh and James Carr. They haven't been a part of a Mayo team to face this kind of Dublin team ever, and they will be up front, and it'll be hard on them with the defence.
And Ross, on that point, Michael Murphy this week said in order to beat the Dublin, he reckoned you'd need to put 120, maybe 220 on the scoreboard. Are Mayo capable of doing that? They scored 217 against Meath, 213 against Galway and Armagh, and 17 against Roscommon. They've been their top scorers. Mind you, they had 17 wides against Roscommon as well.
The discipline of the Dublin defence will have a lot to say about it. Cillian O'Connor is a good free taker. You're asking the likes of Fionn McDonagh, James Carr, Matty Rowan, Cillian O'Connor. I don't think they have the natural forwards that the Dubs have. I don't think they have the natural forwards that Kerry have. The Dubs hit on average 28 points a game. There was a time when they were saying 22, 23 points will do it. You need to have a solid defence, and you need to tag on those scores. I would still say that Mayo create more chances than possibly any team. It's the clinicalness that's always there. They're hitting 1 out of 4, 1 out of 3.
You go to Mayo matches, and the Mayo team, there's an emotional thing with them. The Dubs stay ice cool. Don't forget that their devastating axis in 2017 was Andy Moran, Jason Doherty and Kevin McLaughlin. They got 1-7 between them, either assists or scores.
And they had them to come on today in the second half.
Not one of them is starting. Not one of them is starting.
But does that mean they can finish stronger?
And Andy Moran remains their best forward, if you know what I mean. So they're most inventive forward.
There's no doubt about that.
Big changes.
Andy Moran has been better this year than before. Aidan O'Shea has been more mobile. But the Dubs cover all bases. They have a right-footed free taker, a left-footed free taker. They're brilliant from penalties. Their kick passing this year has been just way above anything any other team can bring.
Efficiencies out of this world.
Instead of asking for predictions, I'm just going to ask, does anybody see a Mayo win today?
Well, I don't.
No, that's a no from tomorrow.
Look, extraordinary things can happen sometimes in Gaelic football and sport and life, and that's what needs to happen here. But we don't need 2 own goals coming for Mayo. We need them coming for the Dubs. And we need extraordinary things to happen, because on all evidence, we know that Dublin know how to win. They know how to see a game home. They've got that last-minute composure that's required. And we know the difference this year in their efficiency levels. But having said that, this is Mayo's year, and this is their lives. They've been preparing to play the Dubs, and they're not afraid of them.
Sounds like Joe was predicting a Mayo win. Colm O'Rourke, what about you?
If they were able to bring a manic energy to things, which they will do for long periods of the time, and it's just a wonderful occasion, 82,000. I was watching Australia and New Zealand this morning in Perth with 60,000, and we were talking about how brilliant a crowd it was for this. And here we are at this very special occasion. It would be even more special if Mayo won, but I don't see it happening.
OK, the Dublin fans may not agree with you. Of course, they are, as we all know, going for 5 All-Irelands in a row. You can hear your commentary in Irish if you want over on RT News now, but time for us here to rejoin our team at Croke Park, Kevin and Dara.
Joanne, thank you very much indeed. Yes, just looking around Croke Park and listening to the noise, which is very, very loud. This is just about to come to the boil. A capacity crowd expected. Those tickets, those golden tickets, got to where they were supposed to go eventually, and we are just about ready to roll here in Croke Park. Kevin McStay beside me, we're looking at the teams meeting President Michael D. Higgins, and you were making a comment about the Mayo, well, the physicality, the size of the team now.
Yeah, well, the inclusion obviously of Donny Vaughan, Matthew Ruane and Jeremy O'Connor has added dramatically to the overall size. They have selected a very, very big football team, and I tend to agree with the lads that probably indicates long on the kick out from Robert Henley. Other than that, the weather has stayed reasonably calm. There is a bit of wind, all right, blowing into the hill, but the wind and the rain hasn't arrived at this time. So really the next big talking point are the matchups, and until the ball is thrown in, we just won't know. We can surmise all we want, but there's a lot of players that have to be figured out from a Mayo perspective. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, for sure. We just got a glimpse of Diarmuid O'Connor, who is the Mayo captain now that he's back in the team. It's a rivalry between two teams, which has been one of the big features of this decade. James Horan back for his second time in charge of the team, while Jim Gavin has been in charge of Dublin. He's faced 4 different management teams. Today they're meeting for the 52nd time in League and Championship. 2012 the last time, as you've seen and heard, the last time that Mayo beat Dublin in the Championship, and that was at the All-Ireland semi-final stage. The rain has stayed away for now. There is some dew, and we've had some very, very heavy showers in Dublin this morning, but the conditions pretty good. That wind, though, is, well, getting stronger, and as Kevin said, blowing into Hill 16.
And I'd say this, Dara, this is one of the very few semi-finals I've been at over the years. This has a feel of an All-Ireland final, but maybe, you know, the arrival of the president, hooped on the hair, etc., and the general atmosphere, but it really has that feel about it. It's a massive, massive contest.
Yeah, we've been tapping into that all day. Now, Aaron Naveed. They were expecting 25,000 Mayo supporters to make the journey to Croke Park, and maybe because it's a semi-final, you're going to have more supporters from the 2 counties actually here today because of the way the tickets are distributed on All-Ireland final day. Conor Lane of Cork is the referee. He's done Dublin and Mayo before in an All-Ireland final. One team, well, playing for the chance for football immortality if they can get to the final and have a crack at this 5 in a row. The other playing for the right to get into the decider and win a prize that hasn't been to Mayo for a lifetime. Conor Lane of Cork throws the ball in. Matthew Ruane is at midfield. Michael Darragh-Macaulay for the first touch and a first free, a foul on Colin Boyle. So Aidan O'Shea plays the ball out to Matthew Ruane. We just wonder, well, certainly he can't have any match fitness because he's missed so long. He did play for a couple of minutes against Donegal, but how his overall fitness is, he's a big player for Mayo and has become that this year. We go back to Fionn McDonough. He just leaves it after him. Seamus O'Shea, Shamey O'Shea. Diarmuid O'Connor is in at full forward, been picked up by Mick Fitzsimons. Michael Darragh-Macaulay and Aidan O'Shea, if they're side by side, it's going to be some battle. Here's Paddy Durkin, did a great job on Ryan McHugh. Now Cillian O'Connor averages 8 points a game against Dublin. And we're going to see a free for Cillian O'Connor, foul by John Small.
just on the edge of his range as well. And I suppose we're talking about the perfect game, Dara, that Mayo are going to need. These are the sort of moments that have to be converted. Not an easy one.
Yeah, so free for Cillian O'Connor, and that wind is into his face. But for a free taker, the first one, absolutely vital. Cillian O'Connor kicks right through that. Does he like it? He's looking anxiously after it. And that has gone. We're going to go to use the technology. Hawkeye, the umpire wasn't sure, and fair enough, if he's not sure, use what you have.
Well, Cillian O'Connor looked pretty confident about it himself. Yeah. We shall see.
We will. That was well inside. So Mayo lead inside the second minute. Cillian O'Connor opens his and Mayo's account. Short kick out from Stephen Cluxton. Niall Scully, the incredibly hard-working Niall Scully. We could use that to describe so many players on this field. In the Dublin jersey and the Mayo jersey, and the referee has penalised James McCarthy for over-carrying the ball. Obviously Conor Lane, well, we'll see. We reckon now, because he's given that one so early, he's going to be consistent on that over the course of the match. Here's Paddy Durkin. Mayo need a huge start. Don't want to be behind. They want to go right at Dublin early. Stephen Cohen, there's a bit of a gap there now. Shamie O'Shea with the point. Dublin's defence cut open. They looked flat there, and Mayo off to a really, really good start.
Yeah, and that is a terrific score by Shamie O'Shea. Sliced it hard, straight into the canal end and over the bar. A great start.
And Mayo win the Dublin kick-out. This is Aidan O'Shea. He's been in incredible form. Diarmuid O'Connor replacing Darren Cohen before the throw-in. Aidan O'Shea has scored just 1 point this year for Mayo in the championship, and he's been done for holding onto it too long. So the referee, well, I suppose, given a few of them early, you hope you don't see more of them later on. It doesn't become this running theme.
Yeah, but consistency is, you know, what the players particularly want, and good call on both occasions. They did overcarry.
Just looking at one of the matchups, Lee Keegan is in, actually playing like a fullback. He's marking Con O'Callaghan, and he's behind Con O'Callaghan as the ball is played to the cooler man. O'Callaghan, Mayo look a bit open at the back, and O'Callaghan shows that burst of pace. He goes through. Con O'Callaghan dropped the ball. Hennelly with the stop, and Mayo look to scramble it clear. Rob Hennelly has it. There wasn't huge power in the shot. Aidan O'Shea is there. They really should get it clear from here, but the ball almost turned over. That was Paul Mannion, who's incredibly strong as well. Now Donald Vaughan, and Mayo get into trouble with Stephen Cohen. Mayo did look open. Con O'Callaghan didn't have sufficient power in the shot to get it past Rob Hennelly. Free out.
Well, they're going for this one-on-one defence again with very little coverage, and that will allow the man-on-man, and Con O'Callaghan did take him on the outside, but there was a bit of coverage from Aidan O'Shea as well, which helped, and a nice, comfortable enough save by Robbie Hendy in the end.
Lee Keegan of Westport. Paddy Durkin. That was a tricky bounce, and it's a Dublin ball. James Carr did his best, but there was pressure on from Davy Byrne, who's taken the line ball. Michael Darragh Macaulay, 3 goals he scored in the championship this year. Not at full tilt by any means, but we'll get it back. And there's John Small with a gap, free in. Foul, a pullback by Fionn McDonough. He will feel he had to do that.
Well, he didn't really, Dara, because Aidan O'Shea was right in front of him, and that's the little bit of inexperience, under pressure, afraid to let a man get a run on him. And here's the effort from O'Callaghan. Yeah, it's no big deal. I think it's an easy enough save for Robbie Henley. It's, of course, it's the fact that the chance was created so early on, but this is going to happen on man-to-man marking.
And here's Dean Rock back in the team. Cormac Costello on the bench today, and Dean Rock puts the ball over the bar. So Dublin get their first score in the 6th minute.
Yeah, and that's where some of the inexperience now will show from time to time. Matthew Ruan, just in that case, Fionn McDonough, James Carr a little bit. You just have to be careful, take a deep breath, and just get yourself through the first quarter.
Hennelly's kick out picked up by James McCarthy, and off he goes. He wasn't fouled. It's Kieran Kilkenny. Kilkenny just skips away from the cover as they work back out and across. Here's Brian Fenton. Is he Dublin's most influential player? Fenton gets through. He's really hard to stop. Dean Rocket got free in behind, and Fenton's been called for over-carrying.
I think he might count himself a little bit unlucky there, because I did think there was some contact as he went through the defence, but an over-carry.
Mayo's adventure, well, it's taken them to New York, to Newry, Castlebar a few times, Croke Park a few times, Killarney. They've put some miles on the bodies and some wear and tear. They've had injuries to contend with all year. Jason Doherty, the latest to miss out, but getting players back as well at perhaps the most vital time of all. This is Stephen Cohen. Matthew Ruan. Now, Dublin look a bit open through the middle, but Ruan goes back to Shamie O'Shea. Mayo lead by 2 points to 1. Stephen Cohen out to Lee Keegan. Diarmuid O'Connor is behind him, but it's slow. And James Horan just pointing in, shouting instructions to his team, but Mayo hanging on to the ball, and now they try the other side. Paddy Durkin.
Well, earlier on in that play, you saw the little bit of ring rustiness from Matthew Ruan. Those 2 or 3 very good cuts from Mayo players going forward. He opted not to take them, wasn't just mad about the pass, and then stalemate, and now a turnover after a long period of play.
Phil McDonough tried to get it back, and they've got a free, Mayo. And then Michael Darragh-Macaulay reacting a little with Diarmuid O'Connor up close and personal. So it's a free into Mayo.
And a feature of that again, and I would reference last week's matches, Phil McDonough just tending to take a little touch or two too many, and at this level of the game you will be punished for it, but he did really well to win the ball back and win his free.
And Michael Darragh-Macaulay didn't see a card, but I think the intention from Conor Lane, and well, you didn't need to lip read, you knew what he was telling him. Next time he will see a card. Aidan O'Shea from Brafey goes back to Colin Boyle.
And Mayo are definitely stretching the possessions there. I think that's an obvious observation, that they're really playing the ball out and getting plenty of time on it, and of course the longer they're on the ball, the lesser chance to give Dublin to get into the game.
Well, where's Rob Hennelly going to put this? Well, he just put it on a plate for Stephen Cohen. Yeah, well, you have the ball, they can't score. Turned over so many possessions against Donegal, won so many turnovers against Donegal last week, particularly in the first half. Chris Barrett has been fouled. He was pulled back. And it's threatening to boil over, was it? That was Dean Rock with Chris Barrett.
I think Chris Barrett was trying to develop a bit of yardage for his free taker.
Here's Aidan O'Shea, movement ahead. Donald Vaughan got it in front of him, and Aidan O'Shea has scored 1 point in the championship, but that one has gone wide. So that's the first wide of the game, and really an opportunity like that, they're going to have to push up that conversion rate massively from the 40-odd% it was last week. They've got to go over when you're in that position.
Good push-up by Mayo on the kick-out, so he has to go long.
Cluxton has to go long. Brian Fenton out there, but with that kind of ability, he's all you need most of the time. Now Niall Scully. Michael Darragh-Macaulay. Kieran Kilkenny has gone towards him. Dean Rock is the furthest forward. Good pressure put on by Matthew Ruan on Michael Darragh-Macaulay, and he's pulled him back. It's a free in and a chance for Dean Rock to get Dublin's second point.
And again, I don't want to repeat myself, but that's another player I referenced, just a bit of inexperience. Let him go goal side, and then the next move is foul him. And this is what Dean Rock is hoping for all day, to get nice little character builders, tipping them over, get back into the game, and looking like a leveller here now for Dublin.
So the referee going across, he's having a problem, I think, with his communication system. So that's the hold-up, which isn't helpful for Dean Rock.
Good start by both teams, though, Dara. They're well into the pitch of the game now, and it's beginning to take a bit of a pattern. Obviously, Mayo are trying to run the ball as hard as they can, but certainly hold it for as long as they can, whereas Dublin want to counter at a lot more pace.
From Ballymon Kickham's. He doesn't miss from there, so Dublin's 2 scores, both frees from Dean Rock. Mayo's last score was 8 minutes ago, so let's see where Hennelly goes with this. He does want to kick it long. Bit of a delay as he sizes up the option. Stephen Cohen had got forward for him. It's very tight to the line, but Cohen did extremely well, and he's won a free for his team. Seamie O'Shea wants to take it quickly. Again, they go back. Chris Barrett. Got a few of those frees where instead of kicking it forward, they're going back.
I genuinely think it's something they've worked on. They want to hold on to the ball. Yeah. They don't want to be chasing Dublin, and they want to get a full length out of the possession, you know, minute and a half or whatever.
With the amount of bodies around that middle third, it's really congested there, just as Mayo would like it to be. Colin Boyle has made a good run forward. Here's James Carr. Remember his goal in Limerick, and James Carr so good off his left boot. That's a really nice score. Their second from play. Scored one similar to this against Donegal.
Yeah, that's an outstanding score because he fronted Mick Fitzsimons and then he took him on after. Lovely inside ball from Cillian O'Connor, one hop into the chest, and a lovely, confident finish off the left peg.
Cluxton goes long towards Brian Howard, but it's a Mayo win off the Dublin kick-out. Aidan O'Shea, a barnstorming run forward. Cillian O'Connor's shot. Now, that wasn't a good decision by the Mayo man. That shoot-on-sight policy is back again. It didn't work for Aidan O'Shea earlier and Cillian O'Connor. Anyway, for him, all about the next ball. The next ball has been won by James McCarthy of Dublin. He's bottled up. Huge contact from Colin Boyle. Ball out of play. Jack McCaffrey going long. He signalled that intent by holding the ball up in the air. Lee Keegan, it's a tricky one for him. Rob Hennelly has it. Conor O'Callaghan has gone down injured, and he's still down as Rob Hennelly comes away with the ball. The Mayo goalkeeper playing like a half-back at the moment. Risky stuff. Seamie O'Shea, ball turned over. Hennelly still isn't back in his goal. Mayo man down injured. Here's Brian Fenton. Fenton's pass taking Brian Howard a little wide. It's Colin Boyle who's down injured. They don't need another injury at this stage of the match, and Boyle, a hugely important campaigner. Scully plays it through. They're in here. Mannion! It's over for a point from Paul Mannion. He wanted a goal. He hit it well, but couldn't keep it down.
Well, it was a magnificent goal chance for Paul Mannion, and if he kept that low, he must have had a great chance. He goes to drive it, but of course it lifts a little bit and over the bar. But the earlier calamity was the goalkeeper's pass. Robbie Hennelly overhit the hand pass. Colin Boyle threw himself into the tackle then to try and stop the play. But of course Dublin tidied it up and countered brilliantly, as they always do. Found the open man, and Mannion over the bar.
Colin Boyle is okay, and there's a fail from the kick out. Here's Paul Mannion, this time on his right boot. It's another score. Well, we did see that last week, a couple of bad kick-outs from Rob Hennelly. They're going to happen.
Yeah, it's not that he was going short. He was trying to put the ball over Paul Mannion, but he scooped it not high enough.
Well, they happen to every goalkeeper. There's no question or doubt about that. So, a longer one from Rob Hennelly. Soaring after that was Brian Fenton, but he pushed his opponent, so it's a Mayo free. Colin Boyle was going to take it quickly, and now has found Cillian O'Connor. James Carr is ahead of him. Fionn McDonough's in a decent position as well. Cillian O'Connor takes on the shot, missed his last one. Cillian O'Connor, where's this one going? It's gone over the bar. That's brilliant. Wasn't thinking about the last one, while others, including myself, were. That's a lovely score from Cillian O'Connor. 4 each.
Brilliant hand pass dummy in the middle of that play as well to make room for himself, and did very, very well. A very fine point.
They've always been tight affairs. Well, apart from the 15 replay, which was a 7-point win for Dublin, but 1 point here or there. Johnny Cooper getting forward. The referee's playing an advantage after a foul by Aidan O'Shea. Kieran Kilkenny been forced out the field. No advantage to Dublin. They've got a free. It's from a fair distance out.
Just to go back now to the Dublin kick-out, They're getting the kick out away very easily compared to the Mayo kick out, obviously. They are the top dogs in the nation at doing it, but it's so easy.
Con O'Callaghan faced by Lee Keegan. Some thought Keegan would pick up Brian Fenton, Kieran Kilkenny. Boyle is closest to him. James McCarthy's got through. He's faced by Aidan O'Shea. Dancing feet from James McCarthy. Kieran Kilkenny. And now Dean Rock. Mannion was the decoy. They go out to Johnny Cooper, who stayed forward. Fionn McDonough is there in front of him. Brian Fenton, a rare mistake with the hands. Fenton gets through, chips it right-footed, and Fenton's effort has gone wide. So that is Dublin's first wide.
Well, we're just heading up to the 17th, into the 17th minute. It's 4 points apiece. It's a terrific effort, opening effort from both teams. Tremendous aggressiveness in all the tackles. Nobody getting more than a split second on the ball. Marvellous stuff.
Gripping. Hennelly goes down the middle and long to Aidan O'Shea. Michael Darragh Macaulay punched it. It's come to Stephen Cohen. Referee gives a free. Dublin happy enough to foul when Mayo win. The kickouts out around the middle. Here is Paddy Durkin for Mayo. Dermot O'Connor to his right. Durkin backs himself. He got 3 last week, and now he's got 1 here in Croke Park, Paddy Durkin. Mayo lead by 5 points to 4.
Well, that was the one man that Dublin didn't want to lead. You see Dermot O'Connor made a run and looked for the ball once or twice, but Durkin said, no, I'll take this one myself, over the bar.
James McCarthy from the Stephen Cluxton kick out. It was really accurate. Johnny Cooper for Niall Scully. Won back by Chris Barrett. Mayo people around us jumping to the air as Barrett won the ball back. Fionn McDonough fouled, and he's gone down grabbing his right ankle, and I think he's all right. He did look to be badly hurt, but he's got back to his feet, just jarred in the turf.
Well, I'd say probably bone on bone, and they can be sore, but he should be able to run it off. No question of a trip or anything like that. They're just driving for the ball really hard, and these tangles happen from time to time.
He's all right.
Big effort by Chris Barrett there on the previous play, Dara. Niall Scully, what I might say, wasn't fully committed to going for it flat out, and Barrett hoovered it up.
Fionn McDonough is okay again, for sure. It's Matthew Ruane. Has that worked, Matthew Ruane?
I think so.
It's a lot to ask.
Yeah, it's a lot to ask.
Here goes Paddy Durkin, and now Colin Boyle through the blue wall in front of him. He was caught, free in. Cillian O'Connor time. I wonder, is the referee going to get a card out?
Well, he's coming at great speed, and he is going down, I would say, to a certain extent. It's a tough yellow. It's a tough yellow on John Small. The free is deserved, I have to say that, but it's a tough yellow on him. I think
it's the third free that John Small has had against him, so he's got a yellow card.
So consistent fouling, I guess.
Well, John Small, you think of Lee Keegan, you think of Donald Vaughan, players, Dermot Connolly indeed, but players who have had problems with referees in previous meetings. They're all high profile. This is Cillian O'Connor to give them a 2-point lead. And that familiar kicking style and technique that has made him the all-time top scorer in the championship. 6-4.
Well, early days yet, but Mayo will be delighted with the influence Ciarán Kilkenny and to another extent Jack McCaffrey are not having on the game to date. So those matchups working well so far, but early days.
Dublin looking at getting other players forward. Davy Byrne trying to get forward now. There's a pull and a free to Dublin out around the middle of the field. Colin Boyle and Ciarán Kilkenny, and that's a foul against Ciarán Kilkenny. Another little mini victory for a Mayo defender in a tight situation. Look at Aidan O'Shea playing almost like a fullback. Dean Rock is in front of him.
Well, he's very comfortable on the ball. That's one of the reasons Mayo want Aidan O'Shea. He doesn't lose the ball in contact around that area.
Chris Barrett. Jack McCaffrey was picking up Paddy Durkin, but now he's gone to pick up Brendan Harrison, who had taken up a position on the Dublin 45-metre line. Aidan O'Shea as Mayo again keep hold of the ball and swing it from one side to the other. Ruan. Back again, Stephen Cohen. And Dublin have to come out and try and get it back. Brendan Harrison. So at the minute, just, well, 2 Mayo players, 3 inside their own half. Colin Boyle is very definitely in Dublin territory. Spins away from Con O'Callaghan. Lee Keegan. Promising looking move this from Mayo. Fionn McDonough, he's going to have a go himself. There's nobody ahead of him. Arriving from behind is Donald Vaughan. And they still keep it. It's high risk but confident stuff from Mayo as they keep the ball, as Dublin have done to many teams over the years. Here's Seamie O'Shea, scored a cracking point earlier, thought he was going to have a go on his left. He's a bit isolated at the moment, and the ball turned over after that long passage of possession. Brian Fenton of Dublin, and he drives out, leaving Mayo players in his wake, gets rid of the ball out to Davy Byrne. In the centre of the field, Kieran Kilkenny is screaming for it.
Mayo have Colin Boyle back as well, giving a little bit of protection around the D, and that's slowing down the inlet pass from Dublin.
And Boyle just tracks across to where the danger is coming from. Michael Darragh Macaulay, Aidan O'Shea there with him. Macaulay, and there was Colin Boyle with the hand in. Macaulay kept possession for Dublin, did well to do that, and John Small is knocked to the ground by Matthew Ruan, and the referee's reaching for the top pocket and the notebook. There could be a yellow for this.
And again, I put that down to the inexperienced side of it, just overly aggressive, a bit wound up, a bit keyed up, wants to get into the pitch of the game. But this is a yellow now that a young player doesn't particularly need to be carrying after 23 minutes.
Yeah, yellow for Ruan. So all sorts of instructions for both teams coming in to the field as Mayo set up for this free, and Johnny Cooper goes back to Mick Fitzsimons. Man of the match in an All-Ireland final against Mayo. Brian Howard. Kieran Kilkenny. James McCarthy hugging the sideline, and now he's come infield, McCarthy. Scully was the decoy. Con O'Callaghan trying to get in around the back of Lee Keegan. O'Callaghan had the ball. Keegan stood him up. Niall Scully didn't want to shoot. John Small back to Michael Darragh Macaulay. Dublin with 4 points on the board. Mayo lead by 2 in the 24th minute. Mick Fitzsimons. A lot of Dublin players have been involved in this attack. Brian Fenton out in the corner. Kieran Kilkenny. As they try and work a player free onto the edge or inside that exclusion zone. Now we've got James McCarthy. Carr is there with him. John Small, Aidan O'Shea in front of him. And a brilliant turnover from James Carr. Anything Dublin can do down at one end by turning Mayo over, Mayo can do it down the other end.
But so many times in that rotation by Dublin, they couldn't get the ball to the shooter. It always ended up with the one guy that didn't want shooting it, and they kept rotating it. And then, of course, the turnover at the very end. Great piece of work by Carr.
10 minutes since Dublin last scored. Mayo have got the last 3 points in succession. Matthew Ruan. Well, the ball turned over. Niall Scully and Cillian O'Connor fouled him, so it's a Dublin free.
It was certainly high by Cillian O'Connor in contact there, but Matthew Ruan again gives the ball away. There it is. That is a bit high, and he's lucky that Conor Lane isn't taking a bit more attention with it. But there's young Carr's turnover. Fantastic piece of work. A lot of pressure, but as I said, the funny thing, they couldn't get it to the right shooter.
Now Mayo have had a bit of a shutdown as Paul Mannion puts his boot through that. I think that's going to go wide. Yes, it will. The umpire was certainly didn't need to use Hawkeye. It was Mannion on his right boot, and he's normally pretty reliable with it. 2 wides.
Yeah, my view of that now, Darragh, was that it was very, very close. Yeah. I'm surprised Hawkeye wasn't called in, but if it is, of course, he'll get the notification in a few seconds. But play goes on. That's for sure.
If it did go over the bar, the referee will go back, as we saw in the Tip Wexford match. Chris Barrett keeping that alive. Now Seamie O'Shea. Mayo still battling for every single possession, putting pressure on Dublin. Seamie O'Shea, is nobody from Dublin came to put pressure on him. James Carr gets out in front and wins the ball. Paddy Durkin. Cillian O'Connor ahead of him. He's tagged by 2 Dublin players. Matthew Ruan. Stephen Cohen has taken up a really good position, and now Dublin have seen him, but his teammate got the ball to him. Stephen Cohen. Paddy Durcan, Mayo loving that width and trying to keep it as wide as possible. Worked really well for them against Donegal. This is an altogether different size of playing surface, both in length and width. Now it's Fionn McDonagh, and McDonagh, did he hop it twice? It's a free out.
He sure did, yeah. Again, just those small little pieces of inexperience I'm talking about, and just being cool in possession. Another needless turnover.
But Mayo certainly would have settled for this score, this position at this stage of the game. But Dublin, well, will try and put real pressure on them coming up towards half-time. This is Paul Mannion. Brendan Harrison with the hand in. Mannion still has it. He's so strong, and he got away from Harrison. Mannion into Con O'Callaghan. Mayo players hanging out of Con O'Callaghan as he tries to dance his way through, and he did too much with it, and Mayo have turned the ball over. That'll feel like a huge win for them, and that defence. O'Callaghan was isolated. We've seen him get the ball away in so many situations like that in the past, but not there and not now.
Yeah, and Conor Lane perfectly positioned, because that tackling was right on the edge, Dara. You know, you could have seen the hang one up for free in just as easily, but the ref lets it go on.
The roar of Mayo, Mayo, Mayo around Croke Park. Shamie O'Shea. Who's going to get the next score? James Carr with Davy Byrne. Carr has had the better of that duo. There's a bit of a gap. James Carr goes back to Fionn McDonagh. McDonagh shoots, blocked down by Nick Fitzsimons. Michael Darragh Macaulay for Dublin. They've been sluggish at times, but Mayo have played really well. Got in the Dublin faces as we knew they would. Leading by 6 points to 4, Mayo are. Here is Brian Fenton. Slings the ball back to Kieran Kilkenny. Dublin playing with the aid of the wind in the first half, or the breeze. It's not that strong. John Small, a yellow card against him. Matthew Ruan is a yellow against him as Fionn McDonagh tries to stand. John Small up and turn the ball over. Small hanging on to it. It's a free in Dublin.
Well, I think, in all fairness, Dublin had a free coming. Not necessarily that one. Fionn McDonagh did very well, put a lot of pressure on him, but just on the edge of over-aggressive.
That was the Mick Fitzsimons block down. Jason Sherlock, out of picture, has come in to give instructions to Jack McCaffrey. And the game has not seen McCaffrey with those raiding runs forward. We normally see it twice or 3 times.
And if you look at it from, say, Paul Mannion, Kieran Kilkenny, Con O'Callaghan to a lesser extent, just you know, those blue chip players, if you like, just haven't got to their full powers just yet.
This isn't easy for Dean Rock. Dublin haven't scored in a quarter of an hour, but he made that look easy. So just a point between them. Dean Rock has got 3. They've only had 2 scorers. Paul Mannion got both of their points from play. And now we're seeing Keith Higgins come in. And it's Donald Vaughan who's gone off. So the late introduction of Vaughan, well, maybe there's an injury there.
Well, I would say get out there, empty the tank, get Mayo set up in the first quarter, and to a large extent he's done that. Can I just say something about Dean Rock? But we take it for granted, all these frees he's knocking over, Darren. They're magnificent under pressure.
Mayo went long, and here is McCaffrey, and he's set off on a run, and Kieran Kilkenny gets the ball to him. What did Jason Sherlock say to him? Because McCaffrey has arrived at the pace of the game, but he's been turned over. Brilliant, brilliant defending. Paddy Durcan for Mayo. They're doing what they did to Donegal last week, putting them under huge physical pressure every time they get the ball. Dublin been forced into errors, forced to turn the ball over, and that is Diarmuid O'Connor who's down on the ground, and O'Connor's been hurt, and the referee would like to have a chat.
Yeah, again, it was very on the edge of rough play. You'll see comes in very hard, Brian Fenton there into the frontal charge, but then Diarmuid O'Connor is carrying the ball into contact too, but Conor Lane is going to deal with it. It's a yellow
for Brian Fenton. Well, like so many of the Dublin players, they have not been allowed to dominate this match as they've done in many other occasions over this year and over previous years, but Mayo have rarely let them do that. They've always kept it pretty tight, apart from that 15 replay. Keith Higgins into the team. He should be fresh. He only played, what was it, 15 minutes against Donegal, went off for a black card last week.
Well, don't underestimate either the oxygen of the turnover, Dara. Mayo have got their very much their fair share of them.
And here is Higgins. James Carr has been really good in the first half. Aidan O'Shea got through a mountain of work we're not even at half-time. Lee Keegan. Back they go to hang on to the ball. And now they go forward to Stephen Cohen. He's taken up some decent position. Shamie O'Shea. Mayo's last score was in the 19th minute, so they do 1 or 2 before half-time.
Imagine, Dara, not a player in the Mayo half of the field. Did we ever think we'd see this in a major championship game? It's usually the other way around.
And that's exactly what they're doing at the moment. Colin Boyle wasn't moving very freely not so long ago, and Boyle drills it right down the middle. He backed himself, and my word, he was right to. That's a stunning score. Their first in 12 minutes.
Well, Shamie O'Shea early doors, slicing a flyer from distance, and now Colin Boyle repeating it. Magnificent score, because there wasn't much else on, and he took it upon himself and drove it over.
Mayo by 7 points to 5, an awful long way to go. Mick Fitzsimons. Niall Scully. And Scully is hassled and harried and forced back by Stephen Cohen, and that's exactly what we've seen Mayo players do all the way through. He's given away the free now. He kind of had enough of that. Let's go. And the referee wants to chat, and he's going to get a yellow card.
And he had the chance, because he had slipped in possession, obviously, and that was his time to get in close, but again went way over the top in the tackle, and rightly so, a yellow card from the referee.
So 2 yellows apiece, Small and Fenton on the Dublin team, and Stephen Cohen and Matthew Ruane on the Mayo team.
But there was a fair bit of aggression in the follow. You see how they're staying with their men there everywhere they go, and they're putting a lot of heat on it.
Now look, we know they've great respect for each other, but how do I put this? They're not really mad about each other. Kieran Kilkenny, and now it's John Small. They left him free. John Small swinging the left boot at that, but it's a long way wide. He's not one of the players. We have seen him score big points and goals for Dublin before, but in that position, it's higher risk.
Well, there's a lot of players that Mayo will be happy enough to let shoot from distance, and then there are 3 or 4 players they don't want on the ball shooting at all. Mannion, O'Callaghan, etc. And they're doing very well in that aspect of play, because John Small just did not look comfortable taking that particular shot.
Oh, brilliant catch by Michael Darragh-Macaulay. He'll want the mark. Moved forward after a little coming together with Diarmuid O'Connor. Dublin wanted to take the free quickly. Dean Rocket got out in front of Chris Barrett, but we'll go back.
It's Michael Darragh he's talking to.
Well, what's going on here? Is he going to get a card for the handoff on Diarmuid O'Connor? Yes, so Michael Darragh-Macaulay gets the yellow, and the referee has overturned the decision. That could have been a big moment, but the ball thrown in. Another massive moment for Mayo. Dublin's indiscipline costing them. Here is Colin Boyle. A minute to half-time. Shamie O'Shea is down injured, out of picture. Now we've got Paddy Durkin, launches it into Cillian O'Connor. He's so good in the air, O'Connor, and Stephen Cluxton just swung his left boot at it to get it out of danger. Dublin did not look happy under that high ball. Most teams don't, but Cluxton, his clearance tells you all you needed to know. Here is Cillian O'Connor across the 20-metre line. Paddy Durkin was there. Mayo have got it, and the ball is going to drop into the waiting arms of Stephen Cluxton. So that was James Carr's shot. Mayo 7, Dublin 5, heading to the break. Here's Davy Byrne. 3 on halfway. 3 added minutes at the end of the first half. Brian Fenton turned over by Aidan O'Shea. The work rate, the physical power of these Mayo guys, so impressive, and that's what they're bringing to bear. Here's Brendan Harrison. There's lots of skill and lots of scoring ability too. Tactically, they've got it spot on, but a long way to go. Matthew Ruane. And again, Ruane. And they've kept it wide. Diarmuid O'Connor is out under the Cusack stand, and there's the shot from Paddy Durkin. He's done it again. He's after another hat-trick of points. He's got 2 in the first half. Mayo 8, Dublin 5. They will not want half-time now.
Well, a lot of patience involved in that. Nice, easy hand passing, keeping possession. And Dublin not just getting close to the shooter, but look at this for a kick out.
Brilliant all the way down to Niall Scully. Dublin have scored 1 point since the 14th minute. Here is Paul Mannion, that's over the top and over Dean Rock. It was very nearly perfect, but in this situation, on this stage, and at this stage of the game, nearly isn't good enough.
Yeah, a little bit of helping wind, I'd say, just put it out of the grasp. And it was a chance. Mannion measured it very, very carefully, and Dean Rock almost got a paw to it.
Rob Hennelly has had a few scary moments, as most goalkeepers do during the first half. Dublin, Aidan O'Shea had his hands on that. Dublin eventually secure the kick out. Paul Mannion working hard. This is Brian Howard. James McCarthy to his left. Con O'Callaghan made a move. Brian Howard gets the shot away. Howard, and that one has gone over the bar.
It's a great score.
Big score.
That is a great score. That, you know, he had 1 or 2 looks, made a bit more space for himself, a better angle, got closer, and then a brilliant score. So badly needed. Terrific.
Mayo leading by 2. This is Paddy Durkin. He's had an outstanding 7 days, really, thinking back to last Saturday, and he's been super here. Out in front of Mick Fitzsimons, James Carr. Diarmuid O'Connor is the furthest forward. Jack McCaffrey with an important hand in, but it's a Mayo line ball.
Yeah, it was a little bit loose on his possession there, James Carr. You know, a little bit casual, got away with it.
Now Carr sends that all the way across. The 2 O'Connors converge. Brilliant bit of defending by Johnny Cooper. Referee was playing an advantage anyway. Now it's Brian Howard. 20 seconds of an enthralling, gripping, huge first half of football remaining. Con O'Callaghan, and now Kieran Kilkenny. Brian Fenton has gone in at full forward. Matthew Ruan is beside him at the moment as Kieran Kilkenny tries to work it into a shooting position. Kilkenny launches it in, and Hennelly, that was harmless really from Kieran Kilkenny. Fenton was in there as a target man. A massive roar from the Mayo followers at half-time. They will have targeted a lead after the first half, and that is exactly what they've got. Mayo lead Dublin by 8 points to 6 at half-time. Analysis coming up.
Gear up for the hurling final with a brand new episode of The Game.
You just can't describe it. Just the joy. You know, it's indescribable, you know.
Winning is hand the Lee McCarthy Cup in the car beside you, going into your primary school where you grew up.
A brand new episode of The Game, Tuesday at 9:35 on RTE1.
Did you really love one that you feel so groovy in? I love my shirt. I love my shirt. My shirt is so comfortable.
Wouldn't it be great if your footy shirt looked less like a billboard? That's why Paddy Power have launched Save Our Shirt, where every team we sponsor, we're unsponsoring, and they won't have our logo on them at all. Paddy Power, Save Our Shirt.
Where are you going on this day of days? Same place as all your yesterdays? Were you gonna raise your game and set your eyes on a prize that no money can buy? Look ahead to that one day, that battlefield in the sun when thousands become one, and you draw on everything you've learned for gold that can only be earned one way, the hard way. That one day, that's where I'm going.
Some moments teach you all you need to know about yourself. The Electric Ireland GAA Minor Championships. This is major.
At Coors Light, we are proud to brew cold, refreshing beer. Made with the finest natural ingredients. And always lagered, filtered, and packaged cold. So no matter where your cabin is, step outside for a moment and drink in the view. The peak of refreshment. Coors Light.
Know what it takes to play sports' toughest game? Let's do this! First, battle to become best player of the club. Pump up. And fuel up. Protein boost. Then, beat every club rival to make the county panel. You made county! And that's just the beginning. The challenges keep coming. Never miss training. Dodge hard questions. All for one shot at glory. Final kick. AIB, backing club and county.
What is it about where you're from that can silence the doubters and gives you the courage to be true to yourself?
That little girl in me didn't need to hide her differences anymore.
It can even bring you back when the odds are stacked against you.
Get the chemotherapy. The hair started falling out. Brilliant to get back out there.
Where you're from is everything. Super Value, proud sponsors of Where You're From.
They travel from all four corners. A journey of thousands who become one.
It's been a strong opening half from Mayo. That's why they're leading the All-Ireland champions by 8 points to 6. Dublin really not looking like they have done the last couple of years at this stage of the championship. Where exactly have Mayo been getting their scores from, Tomas?
Well, I think it's all based on work rate. They're pushing up on Cluxton's kickouts. I think Joel showing a second. Henley had issues with his point. This is interesting. That was the first and only long ball they put into that full forward line. They have Davy Byrne and Michael Fitzsimons inside. James Carr got a point, and I was saying, why don't? There was acres of space in front of them. They should go longer, but they're minding that ball. Now, they had issues with kickouts, but twice they went long, and twice they got traditionally under those breaks, one freeze, moved it on, and got scores. They're actually being the aggressors around the middle of the field, Joanna, and they're being more direct than Dublin are. I think the matchups Mayo have got are actually excellent. They're keeping Dublin's main men quiet. Mayo have got some excellent scores from play. They've scored 6 scores from play, a great score from Cillian O'Connor here as well. Now, my only worry for them is that they've been in this place before. They've had on top, it's where Dublin go in at half time and they come out in the second half. You've always had their half backs. Durkin kicked one, Boyle kicked one. This was an outstanding score. Dublin not getting close enough, not getting pressure on the ball. And you know, it's been a brilliant first half from Mayo. Here we have Mayo working along the line again, and I think, Joanna, in the second half it'll be hard for them to keep on this. I think Dublin are outstanding at zoning in. They will zone in, they will see where the points are after coming from. Here we have Durkin coming up again. He's absolutely outstanding coming from the back. That's a half-back line, two scores. My issue for Mayo, and I can see it happening already, they're not getting enough from the inside line. Carr is 1 point, and it'll happen again. Guaranteed, they won't get enough scores from play from the inside line.
It's not the first time that's happened, though.
The story of the half for me has been the sort of unrelenting ferocity of Mayo in the tackle. And they've turned over Dublin time and time again, and they're playing on the edge, and they're like a team possessed. And Dublin are playing like they haven't had a game for so long of this sort of nature, and they aren't expecting what they're got. Like, Mayo are up to match speed. Dublin are looking to get up to it, and every time they seem to get into a position, they're faced with 2 or 3 Mayo men who are stripping the ball off them. And these sort of puzzles, Dublin have had a few occasions in the past, and Jim Gavin has sorted them out at half-time. The worst thing for Dublin to come was half-time, because they were totally on top of the game and should be farther in front.
From Mayo?
From Mayo.
Well, I mean, what Mayo are doing is what has always troubled Dublin. They've gone man-to-man with them, and Dublin play a track defence, so the whole Dublin team are fighting themselves inside their own 45. They're having to attack from deep. Mayo have a lot of pace and power in their defence. 5 times they've robbed Dublin in their own full back line, you know, taking the ball from them. And whereas Mayo were playing with that great spirit and determination, the Dubs are on autopilot at the moment, and you can clearly see that in the statistics. I mean, even though Mayo have lost 5 out of their 9 kickouts, and half of Dublin's scores have come from the Mayo kickout, aside from that, it's Mayo's ferocity and application that's marking them out. So that Dublin have 50% of Dublin's possessions have been turnovers. 50% of the time. We never see that with the Dubs, because Mayo are right in their faces and they're not standing off them. Now, in fairness, Mayo have 53% turnovers. So there's not much difference here. But the point at the moment is that Dublin are struggling to get to the pitch of the game, and yet they're only 2 points behind. And we've been here before.
They are.
So, I mean, it's a great opportunity
only
for
2
Mayo.
points in it in the second half. It's going to be fascinating what's going on in the change rooms at half-time. We have that second half coming up after the break and after our competition.
We've teamed up with Aer Lingus, Ireland's only 4-star airline, now flying to 14 North America destinations to give you the chance to win a 5-night holiday to New York. I'm here in Gaelic Park, New York. Let's take a look around the Big Apple. Cool. First stop, Central Park. Giddy up. Sometimes you even forget you're in New York, but then you might even meet some GA fans. You and a friend will be treated to a 5-night stay in Fitzpatrick's Hotel in Manhattan, close to all the attractions. Take in Times Square and meet the locals.
I'm the cowboy with Marty Morrissey.
Yeah, you'll need some dollars to do some shopping. So for your chance to win a 5-night holiday to New York at $5,000 spending money, just answer this. Which of these is a much-loved shopping district in New York? Bond Street, Grafton Street, or Fifth Avenue? To enter, call 15 17 71 71 82 or text the word GAME, followed by your answer and name to 57001. Calls from the Air network will cost €2.03. Calls from other networks may be higher. You must be over 18 to enter. Lines will close at midday on Monday, September 16th. Full details are on rt.ie/competitions, where the lucky winner will also be revealed.
The champions once again.
Super Value. Where you're from is everything.
RTE Sport is live from the RDS Dublin.
Absolutely fantastic.
For the nation's favourite horse show.
Oh, he's very quick.
The 2019 Stena Line Dublin Horse Show. Today at 7 on RTE2.
You told us you don't like cider that's too sweet. You also told us you don't like cider that's too dry. So we cleverly made a delicious cider that isn't either of those things. Simple. Appleman Cider. The joy in simple.
Know what it takes to play sport's toughest game?
Let's do this.
First, battle to become best player of the club. Pump up. And fuel up.
Protein boost.
Then, beat every club rival to make the county panel.
You made county!
And that's just the beginning. The challenges keep coming. Never miss training. Dodge hard questions. All for one shot at glory.
Final kick.
AIB, backing club and county.
I don't know if we should kiss. I mean, you're a zombie.
But I'm kind of hot.
Yeah.
Where are you going on this day of days? Same place as all your yesterdays? Were you gonna raise your game and set your eyes on a prize that no money can buy? Look ahead to that one day, that battlefield in the sun when thousands become one, and you draw on everything you've learned for gold that can only be earned one way. The hard way. That one day. That's where I'm going.
Here's the All-Ireland semi-final stat of the half. From Sure, official statistics partner of the GAA.
You may remember he was unfairly heckled last week.
What is it about where you're from that can silence the doubters who say you're finished? That drives you on?
Retain
and you're carrying the hopes of so many. And gives you the courage to be true to yourself.
That little girl in me didn't need to hide her differences anymore.
It can even bring you back when you're told you won't make the championship.
Cruciate and training in February. Turner Brogan is in for the first time since the last year's All-Ireland final.
Or see another year, never mind a season.
After the operation, I was bedbound after getting chemotherapy. The hair started to fall out. Brilliant to get back out there.
Where you're from is everything. Super Value, proud sponsors of Where You're From.
Dare they dream? Some say it's the hope that kills you. Mayo have been in this position before, but here they are leading the Dubs at half-time by just 2 points, 8 points to do. A very long second half still to come. Now, there's a bit of disagreement in the room over Rob Henley's kick-outs.
No, not really. I mean, the point is this, that Dublin have got half their scores from Rob's kick-outs. Now, we know that Rob, his temperament is a problem in these big days. Now, you know, he needs to be safe. Himself and Tomas were done with it. When he's kicking the ball 50, 60 metres, that's fine. What's the worst that can happen? But Dublin have returned his bad kickouts for 3 scores already when they've only got 6, and this game's going to be, at the moment, it's very reminiscent of the 2013 final. You know, and again, I mean, I just get queasy in the stomach when I see a keeper doing this, and you know, it never ends well. He comes out. This is okay in a club game. But here...
Is that not miscontrolled there?
Could have been, yes, but it's putting everybody under huge pressure. And this is precisely what the Dubs want. It's precisely what the Dublin supporters want. And this could have been a goal. If he had gone near post and popped that into the net, instead he pops it over the bar. Now, if he puts that in the net at that stage, it's a problem.
But was that not miscontrolled from Shamey O'Shea?
Hold on. The point is this, that he needs to hold his nerve in the second half, and he needs to kick the ball 65 metres. Yeah, exactly. That's what he's good at. I mean, I wouldn't take any chances.
I would disagree strongly with Joe. I think Henley has to hold his nerve and to keep coming out and taking the ball off the backs and keep pushing
solo 50
forward.
metres out the field. Is that a joke? To solo 50 metres out the field in this game.
That's not what he's saying,
Joe. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So long as he gives it to his own man.
Fine, that's fine.
Mayo must be brave. They can't sit back. They have Dublin on the back foot. All the big Dublin players are playing poorly. Conor Callaghan, Brian Fenton, Brian Howard is doing quite well. Jack McCaffrey is not in the game at all. The likes of Paddy Durcan, Aidan O'Shea are controlling the game. Paddy Durcan was fantastic in that first half. Yeah. But if Mayo sit back when the Dublin reinforcements arrive off the bench, I think Mayo must keep pushing forward, must be brave.
I'll tell you what they don't need. They don't need a suicide kick-out that leads to a soft Dublin goal.
No, he should kick every kick-out long.
60 metres.
Yeah,
so what are you disagreeing with him?
I think it's the short ones that's causing him bother at times.
Yes,
and absolutely. I think a guy like Henley, if you have the physicality that Mayo have around the middle of the field, take your chances and go long. They kick 2 scores from going long. I think the point that Cullen made there is vital. Keegan has it over Conor O'Callaghan, Boyle has it over Kilkenny, Durcan has it over McCaffrey, Ruane has it over Fenton. Their efficiency, we're talking about in the 80s, it's down in the 60s. If those lads don't get into this game, I can see Mayo winning it.
Well, but they have carried out the first part of the puzzle for Mayo. They've stopped Dublin scoring goals. That's vital for them to win. If Dublin don't score a goal, they're going to have difficulty winning the match. The second part of it is that Mayo have frozen maybe at the 60th minute before. Joe showed it before how Dublin were so composed in the last 10 minutes. So even if Dublin are 3 or 4 behind with 10 minutes to go, they will still feel that they will win the match. And so Mayo must push on.
Well,
yeah, they have to push on.
There were 2 or 3 opportunities in the first half for them to go maybe 4 or 5 points up. You know, let's hope that those opportunities are taken now in the second half, because definitely Mayo psychologically are on top here.
And let's not forget that Dublin had 2 goal chances in that first half as well, Tomas.
They did, but as we said at the very start, and I think it'll take a goal for them to get back into the game. But 1 score, Killian or Carr, 1 score from the inside. I think if Mayo are going to win this, I think you have to get your inside forward line scoring. You have to.
Andy Moore will come on and give them something extra.
And then McLaughlin to come in, and they've Cohen to come in.
Dublin also have very good subs to come on.
They certainly do, and Dublin haven't conceded any goal from play yet in the 2019 Football Championship. Let's head back for the second half. Mayo in the lead by 2. Back to Kevin and Dara.
Yeah, just looking around the field, doesn't appear we've any changes for the start of this second half. First 10 minutes of this will be very demanding for both teams, you would imagine. Conor Lane, the referee, about to get us underway. Mayo leading by 8 points to 6, a place in the All-Ireland final on the line. It will be historic, the result of this, no matter what way it goes. If Dublin do it, if Mayo stop Dublin, there's a free in right at the start of the second half, and Dean Rock will have a fair chance to narrow the gap.
Yeah, that was a pullback by Chris Barrett as Dean Rock broke out to get that breaking ball from the throw-in. And again, I've mentioned it earlier, we take this so for granted from Dean Rock, and his free taking has very much kept Dublin ticking over in that first half. We expect them to do the exact same thing again.
His 3 first half frees were all successful, and there's his first at the start of the second half. So the cheap free right from the throw-in allows Dublin to narrow the gap. So Robbie Hennelly again backs the big players down the middle. Fenton and McCauley both went for that, but it's come to Colin Boyle. Boyle goes to his left to James Carr, showing for the ball extremely well. Still, Paddy Durcan, 2 first half points, going for a third. Durcan, and Cluxton kept it in and just calmly slides the ball out to Jack McCaffrey. But Dermot O'Connor putting pressure on him. It's a free to Dublin. Did that come off the crossbar, or did Cluxton just flip it down?
Well, not 100%, but
didn't go in anyway.
It didn't go in for sure, but it looked like a crossbar touch to me.
Here's Paul Mannion, Kieran Kilkenny, and Kilkenny sliding it in. They're in. Con O'Callaghan, goal! Fabulous finish from Con O'Callaghan. Just the start Dublin wanted at the beginning of the second half. Mayo, the exact opposite. Dublin lead.
Well, O'Callaghan just powered Lee Keegan out of the way, throws him to the ground, and that's how he got the inside position. Just here you see Keegan on the ground. Brilliant finish on the near post, along the ground. It was a big half-time for both managers, and you have to say Dublin have come out screaming and fighting.
Next score in this kind of feels vital already, and Hennelly has kicked it straight at Brian Howard. Niall Scully. Dean Rock now. And Rock with Chris Barrett. Mayo did so much right in the first half. And now Kieran Kilkenny, big block down. Matthew Ruan with the touch on that. Brian Fenton has it. Now it's out to Niall Scully. Scully allowed to shoot outside of the right boot. That one isn't going to curl back enough. 5 wides. That was
the crossbar episode. And there, oh no, I think Cluxton gets a big pair of hands on that one. And that leads then straight to the goal. So these millimetres, Dara, are so important. The goal now in the context of a tight match, such an important score as well.
So Hennelly's kick out hangs. Mayo have won another one. Paddy Durcan. Durcan hits the ground, and that has gone against Mayo and Paddy Durcan. Dublin free. Fenton gets on with it quickly. Kieran Kilkenny. We've seen this third quarter push from them many times before. Cork made the better start to the second half of the first match in the Super 8s. We had the Luke Connolly penalty. Here's Dean Rock. Mayo trailing by 2 points. Brian Howard, Michael Darragh Macaulay. There's more intensity about Dublin now. John Small. Paul Mannion thought about the shot. Brendan Harrison in front of him. Small keeps it in. Killian O'Connor in front of him. And Dublin just hang on and work again and go again with Davy Byrne. Supposed to be the cornerback. Davy Byrne out to Kieran Kilkenny. Byrne is still free. Kilkenny dancing through. Scully!
Wide, is it?
Gone over for a point. Niall Scully.
I thought he had sliced it, Dara, as he came in on goal. It was a goal chance, obviously. A bit of pressure from a Mayo defender. Did very well to make the contact. And it's a very important score. 11-8 now. They've really opened a little gap. And it's only a few minutes old, the second half.
4.5 minutes. What did he say at half-time? Did the paint stay on the walls, on the ceiling? He's not that type of manager, I don't think. Brian Fenton and James McCarthy there. Fenton wins the Mayo kick-out. Hennelly went long. Dublin have it with Michael Darragh Macaulay. Davy Byrne. Con O'Callaghan received an instruction from Jason Sherlock at the last break in play. Here's Paul Mannion. He fancies a go. Mannion got 2 in the first half. They were beautiful points. That one's even better. They've started the second half brilliantly, and Mayo in trouble.
Well, that's the score of the game for sure. And the big issue, of course, at half-time for Mayo supporters was, could they keep the pace up, the effort up? And I think the answer to that in the first opening 5 is they're really struggling with the pace of the game at the moment.
Well, we haven't mentioned fatigue too much at all, because they didn't look tired. They looked fresh as daisies in the first half, but 7 matches in 8 weeks. They've had a hectic schedule, lots of travelling, and the referee has given a free in. Lee Keegan was holding the jersey of Con O'Callaghan, and Keegan has been booked free in, and with the form Dean Rock is in, you would fancy this to go over. It's been all Dublin since the match restarted.
Yeah, and these frees now are beginning to mount up. Of course, frees are a function of pressure generally in any of these high-level matches. Lee Keegan's under pressure now because his direct marker just bombed a brilliant goal, and this looks like another tap over. Lead now goes out to 5, Dara, and that's a significant lead.
It's been quite a turnaround and quite an opening to the second half for the 4 in a row All-Ireland champions against the league champions. And Dean Rock does the necessary, 110 to 8.
And now Mayo really need to get their hands on a few middle of the field possessions and settle it all down, because it's beginning to run away a small bit.
Colin Boyle offered himself for the short kick out for Rob Hennelly. It's 2v2 out the field. Fenton, unbelievable catch again.
Wow.
Happy to take the mark.
Magnificent catch.
And Con O'Callaghan's got a metre or 2 or more on Lee Keegan. Keegan trying to close him down. Paul Mannion, Brendan Harrison behind him. Jack McCaffrey set off in a decoy run. Mannion through the eye of a needle, and it's gone between the posts.
Yeah, well, Lee Keegan now is taking a metre back off Con O'Callaghan because he's on the yellow and he's under pressure, and that opens up the space a little bit inside, and Mannion now is just dead-eye dick at the moment. He can't miss.
Mayo can't get out of their own half. Dublin scoring 1-5 without reply. Here's the reply from Mayo. Need a score now just to settle things down, settle back into it. Dublin have a big lead, but a lot of football left to be played. Fionn McDonagh goes down. He was caught by Kieran Kilkenny. The referee, I haven't seen the signal. You would imagine it's going to be a free in.
I'm not even sure he did blow for a free in, and it may be a throw-in ball. We'll have to wait and see. He's going to his linesman actually for a little bit of clarity on it. It did look like a foul, I have to say, but I didn't see the ref signal it.
What's changed since the match restarted, Kevin?
Well, I'd say there was certainly a recalibration in the dressing room. As I said, Jim is a very cool customer. He might have tweaked their approach. I don't see any change in the matchups dramatically, but the intensity of Dublin in this opening few minutes of the second half has changed completely. And there's the goal. Now, what a finish. That's on the near side. That's just a terrific finish. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic.
Now Cillian O'Connor from a difficult angle has missed it. So that's pretty much their first scoring opportunity of the second half.
Well, that's how dominant Dublin have been in that opening 8-9 minutes. Just the midfield breaks and possessions, and Fenton, of course, well, that last mark was just sensational.
Kieran Kilkenny went soaring after it. Dublin win their own kick-out, but won back and turned over by Diarmuid O'Connor. They did that so well, turned Dublin over 11 times during the first half. They've got to get back to that sort of barnstorming form. James Carr did all he could to keep that in play. The sideline was not Mayo's friend there, and here come Dublin. Brian Fenton. They were pushed right to the tin of their colours in the first half. Mayo made them look quite ordinary at times and deserved their lead, but they've looked anything but ordinary since the match restarted.
It's And a Mayo attack as well that looks, very lopsided. There's very few bodies up there. It's really looking like an Andy Moore moment for me, just to get a bit of shape and structure on that full forward line.
And actually his introduction, he's not even warming up at the moment, but there'll be a big reaction from the Mayo crowd when he does come on. Oh, Cillian O'Connor and Johnny Cooper. The referee's taken the notebook out. I wonder, is that for Cillian O'Connor?
Yeah, and that's a persistent fouling. Cillian has a habit of tackling high. You can see it again, that's in the face. And that's what annoyed Johnny Cooper. But, yeah, he's had a few fouls to his name. Yellow card.
So 4 Mayo players in the book, 3 for Dublin. And Kieran Kilkenny will take the free. Mannion and O'Callaghan, they went in opposite directions. Here is Con O'Callaghan, he wants another goal, and he's got it. Same side. Beautiful finish, almost a carbon copy of the first goal. Dublin have made a huge move towards the All-Ireland final. 2-11 to 8.
Watch the step, Dara, watch the step here. Brilliant piece of work. He's going to take his point. Anwar take the goal, and near side again. Brilliant execution.
Well, I heard somebody say they expected Con O'Callaghan to have a very big game today. That's exactly what's happened. 2 second-half goals. Mayo need to get a move on after all the brilliant work they did in the first half. Paddy Durcan was central to that, and Durcan has dropped another one short. He had the effort that Stephen Cluxton palmed away, and Paddy Durcan from that position really should have scored.
But it looks like a long way home now at the minute for this Mayo team at the moment. Big gap, big gap, and how quickly Dublin pile on the scores when they're in top form.
Well, the 2012 semi-final, Mayo was the other way around, led by 10 points at one stage, and Pat Gilroy's Dublin, who were defending All-Ireland champions at the time, got very close to Mayo, but not close enough. There was a huge save from David Clark. There's still lots of time for Mayo, but the signs at the moment wouldn't exactly be great, and they've just got a little bit worse. That is incredible. This fella's in Footballer of the Year form.
Brilliant score again on his left, made the position, and the one sense you have is now that Dublin have got the front position, they're going to hammer home this advantage. This is the one team that have been, shall we say, scratching at them for the last few years, and now they're in a dominant position. You can see Dublin riding this out right to the final moments.
Mayo haven't scored in the second half, and the match has swung Dublin's favour. In Dublin's favour, it's a 12-point swing. 10 between them. I remember that famous quote from Andy Moore about targeting 20 points against Dublin to win the game. Well, they're a long way off that, and Dublin very nearly at that themselves. Shamie O'Shea. They need scores. Matthew Ruane got a big goal against Kerry and Tralee in the league. Was he pulled back? Referee didn't see it that way. Keith Higgins, Fionn McDonough. McDonough blasts that one wide of the post. They've had 2 scoring opportunities, well, more. That's another wide.
Well, here's O'Callaghan. That's the step. He just wrong-footed Lee Keegan. There's one of the best man markers in the game, and twice now Con O'Callaghan has driven home past him for goals.
Michael Darragh Macaulay, that was too easy. There was nobody in a Mayo shirt near him. Paul Mannion, been tracked by Brendan Harrison. Michael Darragh Macaulay, the pass to him wasn't great. Colin Boyle. Mayo need a goal to kind of kick-start this. Paul Mannion, out of picture, was slow to get back to his feet. Here's Cillian O'Connor. Stephen Cohen. Mayo are going to make a substitution. Now it's Paddy Durcan. Will it be third time? Look, he's dropped 2 short. Paddy Durcan has put that one wide. Nothing is working for Mayo. It all worked so well in the first half.
Well, he's making great positions for himself, but that hat-trick of points that he got last week, he's finding it very hard to repeat it this time. He's been close a few times, 2 into the goalie's hand, and that one just drifting left. Kevin McLaughlin has just moved in.
For Fionn McDonough. Dublin are getting ready to bring Cian O'Sullivan in. And it's Michael Darragh Macaulay who is going off. So You would imagine that James McCarthy would go to midfield.
I think he's disappointed, Michael Dara. He's put in a fair shift and was hoping to be part, I'd say, of the last 20 minutes.
Kieran Kilkenny, that kick from Cluxton went right over the top, but it's a free to Mayo. And Colin Boyle keen to get the ball back off Brian Howard as quickly as possible, and that is then moved forward. They need a goal.
They need two of them.
Yeah, but just one at a time. Here's James Carr. And now Kevin McLaughlin. McLaughlin inside to James Carr. He can score a goal, and Carr brought down. Now Cillian O'Connor pulled on it first time. Cillian O'Connor again. Matthew Ruan is looking for it, and they force him out. It's a Mayo line ball. And Mayo, well, they need to keep the heads as much as everything else. There's 20 minutes left.
And both did very well. Johnny Cooper and Cillian O'Connor. They were fighting hard for that one.
You're going to hear a big roar very shortly. Andy Moran's coming in. And now it's Aidan O'Shea. O'Shea drives through that blue wall down in front of it, and Lee Keegan has kicked the ball wide. They're getting into decent positions, but the shooters, the scorers, just not on the end of those passes in. And there is Andy Moran. They need a lift badly. Dublin 2-on-1 here, but Colin Boyle has got it back for Mayo, and Niall Scully just tapped him to the ground.
Boyle did brilliantly well there. That wasn't his ball at all, and he went back and won it. Over Scully, did really, really well.
Paddy Durkin. Shamey O'Shea to Aidan. Now Aidan bursting through. Will this be the moment? Lee Keegan, they're in here. Keegan, goal! They're not gone away. Brilliant piece of improvisation from Lee Keegan.
There was a lot of Dublin players reminding him of his last wide. And here he comes up on the end, off the shoulder. What a lovely finish, a really lovely finish. Might have been a penalty at that stage. He seemed to be pushed off it. Great finish.
And the timing of this now very important as you watch Aidan O'Shea setting up the goal for Lee Keegan. Little dink in, the roar, because Andy Moran's come in. 7 points between them. That is the first goal Dublin have conceded from open play in the championship. Mayo need a couple more.
Was it James Carr that went off there? I think it was.
Yeah, James Carr, really good first half. Like so many of these Mayo guys, they win the kick out off Stephen Cluxton. Now it's Colin Boyle. They're energised again. Boyle's ball through, but Johnny Cooper got out in front of Andy Moran and won it back at Moran and Diarmuid O'Connor. Diarmuid O'Connor doesn't look to be looking or running and moving that freely at the moment, but he's missed a lot of football. Put in a huge first half effort.
Dublin trying to
just
take a bit of steam out of the game.
Grab the momentum back.
Yeah, well, just after the goal, of course. That's really clever game management again now. Just suck it out a bit.
Mayo's first score of the second half. Davy Byrne. Con O'Callaghan is the furthest forward. Davy Byrne in towards Con O'Callaghan. He's on a hat-trick. Rob Hennelly got out. Well done, Rob Hennelly. He was brave. He had to be. And Con O'Callaghan has gone down injured. They were both going for the ball, and O'Callaghan was hurt.
Yeah, on first reading of it, both players absolutely going for the ball. Henley is a big lad. We'll keep an eye on it while his eyes are on it. Yeah, these things happen. The cut and thrust of the championship. He tries to get the little flick on it to put it over for the hat-trick, of course. But he felt the full brunt of a big unit coming out in the opposite direction.
The scorer of their 2 goals is Con O'Callaghan. And Jim Gavin getting the instant update from his medical team who are treating the Dublin forward.
He's breathing hard, but I think he's going to be okay.
And there's the roar from the Mayo followers.
Should be said as well, Dara. Oh, there's the goal. The first goal.
Both finishes, though, he gave Hennelly the eyes, both of them. Sent him the wrong way.
You have to have a lot of confidence to do what he's just done with both of those goals. But we know how good he is. He's done it in this stadium before at the highest level. That last one I should comment also there, huge bravery on O'Callaghan's behalf, because all the advantage obviously lies with Robbie Hendy coming in the opposite direction. The hand pass is just a little bit further than it needs to be, but he still has to commit himself to the wallop, and he's up and at it, and that's good to see.
Keith Higgins gets the ball back in play. Next score in this, interesting. Colin Boyle. Will it be for Mayo? Kevin McLaughlin, Shamie O'Shea, as Colin Boyle has continued his run forward. He's been picked up by Mick Fitzsimons. Here is Andy Moran. Some Moran magic perhaps for Mayo. They need that, and well, a few other tricks as well. 7 points in arrears. Shamie O'Shea. Paddy Durkin. He'll back himself. The confidence will have taken a bit of a wallop. There was pressure put on him as that ball was played into Aidan O'Shea, who's gone into full forward. Kieran Kilkenny won the ball back, and now Cian O'Sullivan. Stephen Cluxton been put under pressure, and Dublin, well, supreme confidence in their ability here. Always said, don't go across the face of your own goal with the ball, but
they've worked this out brilliantly. Fast hands, lovely movement, nice angles, and they've cleared up all the danger. All lovely first touch football.
Niall Scully, Dublin forward, starting to find pockets of space. John Small, Mayo happy enough to let them have the ball here. Davy Byrne. Kieran Kilkenny. We haven't had a score in the match for 4.5 minutes. Con O'Callaghan.
Brendan Harrison on him now, you can see as well. This has been a change in the marking duties.
And here's Jack McCaffrey, and McCaffrey, well, the referees called them back. They're going to get a free in. Dublin are going to get a free in. I haven't seen the referee's signal, but I assume it's a Dublin free.
Yeah, I can only imagine, he obviously did give an advantage initially. I can only imagine that he didn't let the advantage run.
Challenge,
well, I think also McCaffrey might have been on the edge of over-carrying, and so he wasn't going to let the advantage accrue, if you like. And that's what it looked like, but Dean Rock is tending to get full return. He punishes just about everything that's happening.
Now, this is a fair distance out, and it started to rain. We were told that there would be very heavy rain during the course of this game.
It did. It rained Dublin goals there a while ago.
Rock is 5 from 5. They lead by 7. And the wind is in the face of Dean Rock, and he kept that one lower, and he has just been flawless. Cormac Costello did the damage and did his stuff from frees in the early stages of the Leinster Championship, and indeed through to the final, but Dean Rock has come back in.
It's a serious crutch to have in a team, or a safety blanket, if you like, that you can turn to a player that just doesn't miss the frees that he's supposed to get. It's a marvellous resource.
Colin Boyle has gone off. Owen O'Donoghue, his replacement. Stephen Cohen for Mayo as they try and work the ball up the field. Pushed by Brian Fenton on Aidan O'Shea. And Dublin will be happy enough with that free, because it lets them, well, get players back and takes the momentum away from Mayo. Now they've got to build it up again with Keith Higgins. Andy Moran is the furthest forward, been picked up by Mick Fitzsimons in close to Cluxton's goal. Mayo attack breaks down. Davy Byrne to Cian O'Sullivan. Under 12 minutes left. Kieran Kilkenny. The All-Ireland semi-final of 2014 was the last time Dublin lost in the championship. 2,171 days ago, something like that. Here goes Con O'Callaghan. John Small is ahead of him, and O'Callaghan turned over. Now Shamie O'Shea. Mayo have scored just a goal in the second half, and they need another one desperately with 11 minutes to go, and maybe another one after that. This is Cillian O'Connor. Andy Moran trying to wriggle free out of picture as Aidan O'Shea goes the other side. Diarmid O'Connor is calling for it. They go down the middle with Paddy Durkin. Kevin McLaughlin. Durkin's got it back again. Paddy Durkin. Andy Moran. Referee had to get out of the way. Moran changes the angle of the attack to Diarmuid O'Connor. They need another goal, Mayo. Diarmuid O'Connor around the back, and that one has gone wide.
Yeah, I think the danger now that Mayo are presenting to Dublin's only one danger. They're going for goals essentially on just about every attack, which makes it a little bit dangerous in that they're hungry for the goal, but the chance of getting them against a Dublin defence where there's a lot of bodies.
That was interesting. Tom Parsons is about to complete his remarkable return from that horrific injury. He's going to come in for Mayo. He'll get a huge reception, I would imagine, from both sets of fans after the journey he's been on. The referee is playing an advantage as Niall Scully belts the ball into Con O'Callaghan. That big left hand went up after it now. Kieran Kilkenny as Dublin head for home. Kilkenny advantage been played. Owen O'Donoghue marking him. Now it's Brian Fenton. He's in. This will finish it. Over and out, another goal. 3-13 to 1-8. 10 minutes to go. They've just pushed on and Mayo haven't been able to cope.
Well, you have to keep your eye on Kieran Kilkenny. He kept that move alive. A lovely look and go. He didn't look, he fakes to the left but doesn't take it, and that's a midfielder, Dara, and low on the floor, back of the net.
So Tom Parsons back in Mayo colours, which is a huge moment for him.
Well, indeed.
Shamie O'Shea gone off, and it is great to see him back playing.
Yeah, I mean, 12 months ago when I saw that injury, you'd be wondering, would the lad ever play again? So obviously not ideal circumstances in which to come on to the Mayo side at this moment, but there he is. Great to see it.
3-13 to 1-8. Dublin leading by double scores. Cian O'Sullivan caught Andy Moran just waiting for that. Owen Merchant is about to be brought into the game by Dublin. Davy Byrne. Niall Scully. Kieran Kilkenny just took his eye off it, and the referee, as Kilkenny gave away the foul, Lee Keegan has it. James McCarthy in front of him. Aidan O'Shea. Stephen Cohen. Dublin have got their defenders back, and Stephen Cohen puts his boot through it, and the ball gone over the bar. They have had several very good point-scoring opportunities in the second period, but got a lot of bad wides too. Owen Merchant on, John Small off.
And that's their first point, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the second half, which you know isn't going to be good enough, obviously, to beat Dublin. But Mayo did accumulate a lot of shots into the goalie's hands, wides as well from reasonable positions, and they needed, as we said at the beginning of the game, that perfect game almost. And that's the pressure that this Dublin team puts everybody else under. You nearly have to have the perfect game to beat them.
But we've been talking, and well, Jim Gavin hasn't been talking too much about it. He will have to now over the next couple of weeks, but 5 in a row, something no team has ever done before. And well, at half-time it's in the back of your mind, are they now starting to feel that pressure? Because they haven't felt it all year.
Yeah, but look at the reaction.
Look at the reaction.
Look at the reaction, Dara. It has been absolutely top class. And there will be more pressure to come in the weeks ahead. But don't they look capable of managing that pressure?
Mayo have had an amazing journey. They were written off after the Roscommon game, weren't fancied when they went to Newry to play down, written off again after the Kerry defeat in Killarney, big heavy defeat, and then they reinvented themselves. They got players back fit, Tom Parsons back, Lee Keegan had an injury as well, remember, an ankle injury earlier on in the championship campaign. It looked like bad news for him, but Jason Doherty's loss last weekend was a biggie. Aidan O'Shea has had a super year. Kevin McLaughlin, and McLaughlin trying to cut his way through, and there is no way past. We've seen him do that move and the swing of the hips and the ball up high in the air, but it didn't work, and Dublin in no mood to concede a second goal. Now that was a foul on Kieran Kilkenny. It was a bit of a hospital pass, wasn't it?
It was the old VHI subscription. Yeah. But he went for it because he's a big, powerful boy, and every ball has to be contested, and he won it.
Cormac Costello's going to come in. Kieran Kilkenny recovered after Owen O'Donoghue's tackle. Brian Howard. Owen Murchett. Handful of people heading for the exits in Croke Park. None of them wearing blue.
Well, they were down 2 at half-time. They're up 10 now. That's a lot of change. And so whatever happened in that dressing room at half-time, people got a lot more clued into what the requirement was going to be to get to the final. It was a big prize, obviously a big moment for Dublin, but they reacted brilliantly.
Well, Jim Gavin will give credit to the players, of course, but today his 46th championship match in charge. This will be win number 42. They've drawn a couple, lost one to Donegal, 31st of August 2014. Paul Mannion is heading off and Cormac Costello takes his place. And Mannion had a huge game, didn't he?
Oh yeah, terrific work. I have him down for 5 tremendous, one better than the other in fact, but during the period when he was badly needed, just after half-time, got a few terrific scores. And he's just pace, power, what do you say about the young man? A tremendous footballer.
He's hobbling. That will be a worry for Paul Mannion and the Dublin management team. 2013 was his first final. Dublin have a lot of survivors, as indeed Mayo do, from the 2013 All-Ireland final success. Here's James McCarthy, he's one of them. Cormac Costello looping around, gets away from Owen O'Donoghue. Brian Fenton, the icing on the cake, brilliant stop. Really good stop, it's gone over for a point.
With the fast hands, just powered down the middle. Fenton not picked up again. That's 3 or 4 times in the match. He's just driven down the middle and not tracked because he's just superior athlete.
We thought this would be tight, very tight. Past results over this decade when the rivalry really exploded. Here is Paddy Durcan. Just a point between them. What was it, 8th meeting this decade? Couple of replays. Sure, the 7-point win in the 2015 replay was a bit of a blowout in terms of what had been between them before. But 11 points separate Dublin and Mayo. And we've a stoppage as Davy Byrne is fouled by Dermot O'Connor.
I wonder how many of this current Mayo team we'll see back here in Croke Park. The thoughts begin to turn towards that. Obviously we'll see Dublin in three weeks' time, but magnificent service so many of these Mayo boys in green and red have given the county over the years. And even though it's a big defeat, I suppose on the one hand as a Mayo supporter, people will be delighted that it was Croke Park that the journey ended in, because they have been a Croke Park team over the years for sure.
Fergal Boland replaces Dermot O'Connor. Yeah, well, there will be talk about the likes of Colin Boyle, Chris Barrett. Yellow card for this for Kevin McLaughlin. And there'll be others who, well, their futures will be discussed, but certainly nobody will be waving the white flag today. Philly McMahon is on. Johnny Cooper making way. Eventually. And there is, well, you know, Kevin, when Jim Gavin picks his team, and it's very settled. He has 9 or 10 regulars, the ever-present.
Yeah, and build around that then. Yeah, and horses for courses if required. He has that flexibility.
And Dean Rock, well, is human after all, but that one was from open play. It was very difficult, over his left shoulder. From the freeze, though, you would have to think we're going to have 5 additional minutes. He has been outstanding. Owen O'Donoghue put under real pressure by Con O'Callaghan, and then reacting a bit, and O'Callaghan's gone down. The linesman, David Coldrick, right in front of this. So, well, there are two sides to this story, but yeah.
Sure does. He gives him a good elbow, and of course he was pulling out to him initially, and refs tend to, if you're acting the maggot that way, they tend to even it up. But so it'll be interesting to see, but he certainly did let back the elbow.
And there's more activity down on the Dublin bench. There is Diarmuid Connolly.
Must be lovely coming into games where the result is packaged away nicely, and you might get a few touches on the ball, but they're still at each other. I see Lee Keegan and James McCarthy are having a bit of fun out there. J.O.'s on to say, come on, we have a final in 3 weeks' time, don't get yourself into trouble.
And that advice has been heeded. So the referee is, well, Con O'Callaghan is being taken off. So the referee, it was Owen O'Donoghue who was involved in that, and Owen O'Donoghue's down the other end of the field. So we are now going to see Diarmuid Connolly in for Niall Scully. That's an amazing comeback. I know he started against Tyrone last week. Paddy Andrews is in as well for Con O'Callaghan, who we saw being led off.
I was going to say this is for real though compared to last week, but it's not really in the context of the match is home and hosed, if you like, from a Dublin perspective, but it keeps everybody guessing and wondering what will happen in 3 weeks' time. He's another 3 weeks of work ahead of himself.
Second half, well, some turnaround. Dublin outscoring Mayo by 3-8 to 1-1 up to this point. Con O'Callaghan, those 2 goals in the first 10 minutes of the second half, the scores which helped put it to bed. Lee Keegan did get the Mayo goal after that, which gave Mayo a glimmer of hope.
And the debate will rage, of course, when you go man-to-man. You know, if O'Callaghan takes a step and beats you, there's no coverage behind you because there's no sweeper as such filling in those little spaces and getting the extra tackle on you, and then goal chances obviously are created, and that's one of the big debates around that sort of a defence.
Philly McMahon touched the ball on the ground, and then Cillian O'Connor had a coming together with Davy Byrne, who's gone down injured. Now, the referee...
He's on a yellow too, Cillian O'Connor.
Cillian O'Connor is on a yellow, and the referee just telling Paddy Durkin and others to move away, but the notebook is coming out, and I think after that from Cillian O'Connor on Davy Byrne that this is going to end on a really sour note for Mayo. It's bad enough to lose heavily, but they finish with 14 players. His second yellow.
No, that's nothing other than frustration, and I think we can all agree on that. He's put his heart and soul into the game. It's a double yellow. He's taken his punishment and left the field. No big issue, I would have said, one way or the other. The game is well over at this stage.
Like I mentioned earlier, it was 5 minutes. As you can see, it's 6 minutes, and the referee may add a little bit more on, but it's not necessary. And Mayo won't want any more time. Here's Paddy Andrews. You have these players coming on. They're mad keen to start the next day, and there will be a next day as they get the chance against either Kerry or Tyrone to go for 5 in a row. First half, they were pushed. Mayo dominated them at times, turned them over 11 times during the first half, took their scores and led by 8 points to 6. The first 10 minutes of the second half, a totally different story, thanks to Con O'Callaghan and others. And from that point, it has been all Dublin. This remarkable run they've had since the start of the 2015 championship, and they're 1 game away from making history. This is Fergal Boland, and Boland has put that one wide. They had plenty of scoring and shooting opportunities down at that end early in the second half when the thing was really in the melting pot and didn't take the chance.
And you'll recall the one or two into the goalie's hands as well. That's not to say they were ever going to mount enough pressure. Once the goals went in, that was the killer. Cullum were injured at half time. They've done very well to keep the goal number at 0, but that didn't last.
Well, wasn't it Michael Murphy of Donegal who said earlier in the week, if you're going to beat Dublin, you need to score between 23 and 26 points. And, well, look at the Dublin scoreline there. It would have to be 24 or better.
But the big thing is, look at the Mayo scoreline, 1-9, just won't get the job done at any level of the game. And that's how good Dublin have been in the second half. I hear one wide in the second half, and then that's
1 point.
1 point, excuse me. From that's incredible efforts by their defence.
And it's Dean Rock with the free.
Will he put that one over, Dara?
Well, we will see. Off the ground this time. Aidan O'Shea.
Close.
Yeah, wasn't too far away. It's a huge distance and a little gentle breeze not assisting him. So the 6 minutes are nearly done. Mayo's championship odyssey comes to an end in Croke Park, and as Kevin said earlier, fitting that it comes to an end here. They would have wanted another day out and a chance to win, Sam, but that will have to wait until 2020. Fergal Boland of Mayo. Andy Moore, his introduction. Well, he came on directly after Lee Keegan's goal, but the Dublin defence had their homework done and were able to shut him and others down. And the referee now wants to have a word. He's going to give Mayo a free. He wants to have a word with Cormac Costello, the Dublin substitute.
Yeah, he was tangling with Keith Higgins off the ball. Both parties. Surely a yellow, just tidy it up. Unless there's something I didn't see.
Keith Higgins isn't anywhere near this, and it's a black card for Cormac Costello.
And in fairness, Dave Coldrick is right beside them on the near touchline, and that's obviously where the information came from.
Here's Keith Higgins, Fergal Boland. Point. 10 points behind.
Yeah, and that's about it. That's the day's work done for Dublin. They're one game closer now to this famous 5 in a row, and they're deserved winners on the evening. Marvellous second half display.
Yeah, well, we thought the pressure of this bid for 5 in a row was telling at half-time when Mayo led by 8 points to 6. But Dublin started the second half at 100 kilometres an hour faster, and they just blew Mayo away. Con O'Callaghan, 2 fantastic goals. Lee Keegan got one back for Mayo. They head home. They've had quite a journey in Championship 2019, but it ends at the semi-final stage, and Dublin 1 game away from history. Scoreline here at Croke Park: Dublin 3-14, Mayo 1-10.
Thank you, Dara. Thank you, Kevin. Tomás O'Shea, how much are they looking like 5 in a row champions?
Geez, we were just discussing it there, Joanne. Scary is the word we'd say. That was a demolition of it was huge. What they did there in the second half, the first 20 minutes in the second half, was absolutely outrageous. It was as good a performance I've seen in the second half by a Dublin team in a long time. We spoke before it about no test. They got their test today and they answered it at half-time.
Yeah. And many contenders up front, column for man of the match?
Yeah.
Who'd you give it to?
Obviously, Jim Gavin at half-time told the players, you have a responsibility to perform, and all the big players came into it the second half. Brian Fenton, Kieran Kilkenny, Brian Howard, Paul Mannion. But Con O'Callaghan really changed the course of the game with 2 brilliant goals early in the second half.
OK, well, man of the match, Con O'Callaghan, is with Ivani Cullen.
Con, congratulations. If ever there was a game of 2 halves, that was it. What was said at half-time?
I suppose we were ready that Mayo were going to bring that pressure, that massive pressure, and we probably didn't deal with that well in the first half. So just about staying composed and kind of executing on the chances we got in the second half.
You took a bit of a knock there. Are you feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm all good. I'm all good.
Look, I know you've had to put the drive for 5 to the back of your heads over the last season, but you're going to have to start talking about it now. It's only one game away.
Yeah, I suppose that's coming from outside the camp, but we're just really looking forward to the next day. It's going to be a massive challenge, whoever we face, so we're really looking forward to it.
Well, your 2 goals are hugely influential today, so you are the Ayr Man of the Match, and Jason Joyce from Ayr is here to present you with your award. Well done.
There are quite a few contenders for Man of the Match this afternoon. It was Con O'Callaghan you went for, but the second half, was it pretty complete, the performance?
Yeah, well, I think that's the most vicious 10 minutes I've ever seen on a Gaelic football field. I mean, that was the blitzkrieg, and, you know, we've all been saying over the years, why have Dublin never done that to Mayo before? Well, they've done it to them now in style, and, you know, in the first half they weren't engaged, and I think there was something on Tomas's point that Dublin haven't had a high-octane game. But yet, Cork were in it at half-time. Loads of teams were in it at half-time against Dublin, but that was scary. There was something about that you can't take a lot of pleasure, and I think we were sitting there, and Tomas is secretly hoping now that Tyrone beat Kerry by a point tomorrow. You know, Kerry have a glorious defeat.
Who
wants to face into this? Because as soon as they tuned into the game, I mean, it was over in the space of 10 minutes. By 45 minutes, it was a 12-point turnaround. They were 10 points up. You might see that in a hurling match, Kilkenny in their prime. Well, this is unprecedented.
They did
in
very
football.
similar to Tyrone in the end of the first half last year. Tyrone rattled their cage then, and the next thing Dublin upped the tempo, and they did exactly the same thing. They're the most ruthless outfit, and obviously Jim Gavin had a few choice words at half time.
I really doubt if he had.
Well, they came out a much different team.
Okay. Okay, well, as we all know, Dublin into another All-Ireland final, but pressure is a funny thing. We've more reaction and analysis to their semi-final win over Mayo to come next.
They travel from all four corners, a journey of thousands who become one.
The O'Duffy Cup is up for grabs. 4 teams have it in their sights.
I've never seen a look like that in my whole life. Hey, ooh, I've never been shook like that so deep inside. Hey, I'd like to break some rules.
The Saturday Game Live, Camogie semi-finals, next Saturday from 5 on RTE2.
We live by a code, and the code is this. Follow the fox. Let curiosity reign. Honor your instincts. Maximize time with mates. Fox it. Orchard Thieves Cider.
Wish you could watch every single live Premier League game
Lads, ladies,
uninterrupted? Well, Sky Sports and our new Sports Extra pack are half price right now. Sports Extra gives you BT Sport and Premier Sports together, so you can watch all 233 live Premier League games, all in the one place. Sky Sports and Sports Extra are now both half price. Sport made simpler.
Millions of begins, no two the same. It's why we are here to help with our most flexible mortgage ever. Our lowest 1 and 2 year fixed rates. Our largest number of mortgage specialists nationwide. And our best ever cashback offer. For a mortgage conversation anywhere, anytime, just search BOI Mortgages. Bank of Ireland. Begin.
Lads, can we stick on the game? I want to see the tongue and haka.
Hang on, let's just finish this level. Low, 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 keep low. Watch out, watch out. Lads, who's the Emernator?
Unlucky, lads.
Sign up to Ayr and get totally unlimited fibre broadband and get the Ayr Sport Pack free. The only place to watch all 48 games of the Rugby World Cup live. All for just $39.99 a month on a 12-month contract.
So, tongue and hacker?
Ayr. Let's make possible.
This is where families gather.
Where mothers become fanatics and fathers become boys. Where joy becomes woe and woe becomes joy again. Where the tick-tock intensity of score after score after score counts down the clock that holds the fate of every football fan in county in its tick-tocking hands. This is championship. This is where we all belong.
The GAA Football Championship. Your tickets are waiting now. GAA, where we all belong.
You're my sidekick. Ain't nobody's sidekick. You're such a diva.
My name Last month, the Henry Elias saved €368, bringing their big save total up to €670. Mario is shopping by himself because baby Aaron gave everyone 3 hours of sleep last night. A quick call home just to make sure he's getting the right salmon for dinner. Gotta stay on the ball there. Next up, Mario gets the making of a hot caffeinated beverage, flowers for the wife, sorry ladies he's taken, and 10 weeks into their 20-week big save, get the flowers, the Henry Elias total reaches €770. Start your big save at Lidl.ie. Lidl, more for you.
Here's the game's key stats brought to you by Sure. Official statistics partner of the GAA.
Dance with me! Oh, I'd love
Be there even when you can't, on the network that's built for data. Now with 97% 4G population coverage. 3. Make it count.
Super Value. Where you're from is everything.
Just 70 minutes away now from immortality. Dublin, the All-Ireland champions for the last 4 years, back in the Senior All-Ireland final. Now, Joe says there's no point in playing the second semi-final, but if you want to see it anyway, we do have live coverage of Kerry against Tyrone from 2:30 on RT2 tomorrow. So 314 to 110 in the end. Blitzkrieg was the word that Joe used. Now, at half-time, you picked out that the key men weren't performing from Dublin. And was it those same key men who just stood up straight away from throw-in in the second half?
Well, the Mayo lads had a good job on Callahan and Kilkenny and McCaffrey and Fenton, but I think it was just an all-over change in Dublin. They just came out, they went to work, and they absolutely demolished Mayo. Mayo could not get the ball out of the defence. By the time they got their first ball over halfway, the game was over. It's actually...
He went to the loo and missed 1-2.
Well, no, John, I was there. I started writing down because I was wondering about these players. So I wrote down, I'll read out what I wrote down. Kilkenny set Con up for a goal. Kilkenny set Scully up for a point. Fenton catch, kick out, Mannion point. Kilkenny scrapping for breaking ball, free for rock. Fenton catching, Mannion scoring. I stopped writing. They just blitzed them. Like the first 15 minutes, 14 attacks, 12 shots, 10 scores. Up to 90% again on their efficiency. Yeah. Down 55% in the first half. That ability to actually turn it when the most need is there, makes them possibly the greatest.
Let's look at those crucial scores and the goals that came at the very start.
A big issue for Dublin has always been against this Mayo team, for me, that they've paid them far too much respect. But today, that came to an end. I mean, one slip on O'Callaghan's, and it's this execution.
It's the pass. Look at
just
the
what they did last year against Tyrone.
Watch the way he loses him. Keegan is in the bottom right here. He runs out. Keegan actually loses him, and Kilkenny to see the pass and bang, clinicalness. Goal. It was a great finish from Conor Callan. He took up a few awful knocks in the second half as well. But looking up, long ball in again. They weren't afraid to go along. Kilkenny. It was absolutely... You have to be said, Joanne. Mayo, look at this for defending here now. This isn't the Mayo defending we were used to seeing. They have to do was a kind of a collapse completely in the second half.
But a beautiful feat by O'Callaghan there. Sort of made to go, hop the ball, and his execution, like it wasn't an easy finish, but he side foots it into the corner, gives the goalkeeper no chance. What we're going to be doing, I think we're going to be here in next year and the year after, we'll be talking about 6 in a row, maybe 7 in a row, because Dublin are so far in front of everybody.
There was nobody tracking runs, there was nobody getting back with them.
Now the beauty of it, the real beauty of it is that on top of the individual excellence, you've got almost perfect team chemistry, so that when we're watching from where we are, we see a man wheeling off and he's saying, it's not my ball. A Dublin player's pointing inside to Conor Callan, who's making a run, or to Scully, who's making a run. And it's this total concentration. You know, we've remarked on that before. You know, where a goal goes in, there's no celebration, apart from maybe a fist. Now they're straight back out, and they're on top of the kick out, they're back in positions, and they're ready to go again, and they're ready to go again, and they're ready to go again. And that level of concentration that they maintain, I've not seen that before. You know, you see teams getting sloppy over the course of a long game. I mean, once they put their mind to it today, unlike, say, 2017 when they started in the 63rd minute, I mean, it really was scary for me anyway to think that happened. Well, what about young Tyrone players or Kerry players watching this at home?
But what has happened since 2017 is Mayo have regressed and they struggled to get this far. And Dublin have improved significantly in those 2 years, and they're even better now than they ever, which is even more scary thought for the opposition. But what we saw here is probably the end of a Mayo team, and they have had great players, the likes of Colin Boyle and Keith Higgins and Andy Moore. And a lot of these fellas have been great players, and the worst of it today was they gave such hope to their supporters up until half-time.
But everybody's playing for second place.
They weren't able to continue with the level of effort it took to get them to half-time.
Can I not point out that there were an awful lot of injuries? You have Diarmuid O'Connor coming back, hadn't played in a long time. Matthew Rowan, who got about 5 minutes last week. They have been absolutely murdered by injuries.
But they've defied odds and they've come out with results every time. The main point here is the difference between Dublin and the chasing pack. Kerry didn't have a good performance against Cork. Tyrone buckled against Donegal. Donegal buckled against Mayo. And the one team that do not dip is Dublin. It's actually demoralising. I'm in bad form because I don't see any hope for anybody.
I wrote after the Mayo match last week, and I thought that Mayo had played very bravely against Donegal, and they gave it everything in front of their home crowd. It was a great occasion. I wrote, like, they're playing for second place here. Everybody's playing for second place, and that's the reality. And you know, Dublin don't have to do it for a full half, like we saw there.
Are we seriously writing off the two semi-finals before they've even played?
I'm not writing them off, but
I do.
You are.
Definitely right.
Well, I am, yeah.
I do think that Dublin are a long, long way in front of everybody else. And maybe the gap is getting even bigger all the time because there's no semblance of the Dublin being sated by their success so far. It looks as if they want to win, and they have such composure and such mental toughness, and these are players who appear to play without any sort of ego and go from day to day, and all they want to do is improve their own personal performance and their collective performance. And they've a brilliant manager, and we saw last weekend their second team would probably beat most of the other counties in the country.
And I think something that's striking nowadays in the days of GPA and that sort of stuff, you know, and the sort of message that was coming from Paul Flynn today, which was extremely disappointing about players needing a bigger chunk of the pie and all of that, when there are volunteers all over the country working so hard. One thing that you've got to say about this Dublin squad is their social conscience, the things they do in their own communities that a lot of people don't know about, you know, the work that they'll do. I mean, if I asked Michael Dara McCauley to do something for the organ donation charity, where do I need to be?
I'm pretty sure the Mayo footballers do the same, as do an awful lot of other footballers and hurlers.
You can either let me make the point or not. I'm making the point.
But it's important to have balance here, Joe,
I don't know, well, you might be right. Maybe you've got an insight into them that I don't have. But the point I'm making to you is that they're a very modest group that are hooked into their community. Their feet are always on the ground. And Colm, your point is right in that regard. You don't see them getting carried away or boasting or saying anything, you know, that could be a hostage to fortune. It's about playing the game and a love of the game, and you've got to seriously admire that. Really, it's just a pity that there's nobody close enough to compete with them properly.
Yeah, and I think that point on Tyrone and Kerry, it's disrespectful to say that they don't have a chance against Dublin. Depending on what way the semi-final goes tomorrow, depending on who wins and what style of performance they have, of course there'll be an argument have to be made why they could hurt Dublin. And Mayo showed in that first half how you can go at Dublin. But the problem with it is, and it's the best kind of, the way you look at a player is his ability to turn around mid-game and change what's happening. Because too often it happens where a player can, or a team cannot turn things around. They got their break at half-time, they turned everything around, and Mayo collapsed.
But the
because
best
Dublin
chance to Moss probably is Kerry, because Tyrone have had their go at Dublin, and again, and they've come up well short.
Yeah.
So maybe Kerry might produce something, and of course, if Kerry and Dublin were to meet in the final, it would
Sorry, last word from the Kerry man. Are Kerry going to win tomorrow?
As the week is going on, I'm getting nervous. I hope it's a dry day tomorrow.
Propaganda machine. I think
Joanne, I think if they bring what Mayo brought to that first half, if they bring what Dublin brought to the second half, I think Kerry have I know. What I mean is that fighting quality, outside of anything, if you can bring the fighting quality, the football will look after itself. And I just hope that Kerry bring that mentality.
I disagree with that.
Okay, that is all we have time for today. Thank you to Tomas, to Joe and to Colm. Don't forget the Dublin Horse Show, including the Puissance, follows us here. And of course, Dublin now have just one big wall of their own left to overcome if they're to make their way into the history books as the first ever team to claim that 5 in a row. But will it be Kerry or Tyrone providing the bricks? Join us from 2:30 tomorrow to find out. Until then, bye-bye.
Put the boys in the better land. You're always talking about the boys in the better land. The boys in the better land. Put the boys in the better land. You're always talking about those boys in the better land. The boys in the better land.